A night in with MauLer and the drinker, getting trashed with the web-screen thinkers. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, got a 10-pack of beers and a bottle of whiskey. Hop off the cork, have a glass of wine, I'll still say I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line before the Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, MauLer and the critical drinker.
What's up, everyone? Good evening.
Hello.
How are you doing? We're
Yeah,
here.
good evening.
Yeah, good evening to all of you. We're here for Open Bar 145. Really getting up through those numbers now. And wow, it doesn't feel like more than 144 that we've done, honestly.
145. In dog years, we'd be dead.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay.
As a dog that's over 1,000 years old.
How do you think dogs work? I mean, I don't know. Wait,
You
I
know
got
what?
one behind me.
I'm full of
There,
fun
dog.
facts, okay?
Oh, wait, I think that one might be dead, actually. Lara.
Oh,
All right.
145-year-old dog there.
Yeah. Anyway, there was me like, I'll bring one of the critical doggos in. She can take part in the live stream and stuff because people haven't seen them for a while. And this is what I get. Dead. Oh, well. Never mind.
right.
I'll get another one. It's fine. Anyway, well, welcome everybody. And let's carry on our tradition. Let's give you some facts about 1945 since it's Open Bar 145. What have I got for you here? In this year, World War II ended. I mean, I feel like that was quite a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It was all right. You know, I suppose it was good for most people. Yeah, assembly of the world's first general purpose computer was completed. It was called the Electronic Numerical Integrator Analyzer and Computer. Just
Uh-oh. Wait. Wait, is he gone? Am I still here? Or am I gone and he's still there?
And speaking of computers that don't work properly,
All right, he's back. We're fine.
Let me introduce you to Scottish Internet, everyone.
Yeah.
It's superb. Anyway, yeah. So this computer, the ENIAC, it was completed in the US. It actually covered 1,800 square feet of floor space. And it probably had less calculating power than, your average pocket calculator nowadays. But there you go. First general purpose computer. The first Trinity test was completed, first nuclear test was completed in Los Alamos, and led obviously to the use of nuclear weapons for the first time. Not so good for the world, but I guess it was the thing that brought an end to World War II. So there was that at least.
If it wasn't for them, we'd never end up with Final Reckoning's plotline. So think about that.
That is really true, actually, MauLer. Yeah. Thank you. Godzilla never would have been created either, so you kind of have to balance these things out. Also saw the first commercial microwave oven released. It had been invented a few years earlier, obviously, but this was the first time that people could buy it en masse.
Oh, wow.
And apparently they really liked it. And I didn't know this, but it was invented by a guy who was working in the radar bay of a research lab. He had a candy bar in his pocket, and because he was exposed to microwave radiation from the radar array, it melted. And it probably cooked his insides a little bit as well. But, history doesn't
like, I might be dead, but I think I've discovered something else that's pretty cool.
He was probably getting stretchered out of the place and like, I think there's potential in this. Anyway, in the world of movies, things were actually moving on quite a bit because I don't know if I mentioned this before. Over the decades, like really since the 1920s, like box office revenue had stayed fairly flat. It was around about the $2-3 million mark for like the biggest movies of the year. And it was only now in the mid 1940s that things really started to pick up. So now the top earning movie of the year was The Bells of St. Mary's. That made $8 million. So I actually saw like a bit of an increase for the first time, partly because the number of theaters was starting to go up quite dramatically. There were now more than 18,000 movie theaters in the US in 1945, which is very impressive. And it had gone up by a third in less than 5 years. So hence the reason. Like, it was starting to become a really big thing, this whole cinema thing. Yeah. But yeah, top earning stars of the year, Bing Crosby, apparently, Van Johnson, Greer Garson, Betty Grable, and Spencer Tracy were the biggies, with Gary Cooper and Humphrey Bogart close behind. So, and as for famous people who were born that year, Helen Mirren, Excellent. We love Helen.
Still going.
Yeah, still going strong. Steve Martin, Goldie Hawn, John Lithgow, all good actors. Henry Winkler, the Fonz himself, Tom Selleck, and Vince McMahon was born that year too. Not so popular these days. Yeah. But anyway, well, that was 1945, and time to get to the present day and bring in the rest of our guests so we can talk about stuff. How does that sound?
Yeah, I mean, it's all right. I can tolerate that.
Let's do that. All right. Well, welcome to the bar, everyone. Echo Chamberlain, random film talk, and box office brawler. Pleasure, gentlemen.
Hey.
Hello.
I can't believe Mirren is that old. That's insane. 1945.
I can believe
she
it.
was
If you watch
older than that.
Mobland, she is wrinkly.
Yeah, she looks wrinkly and witchy in Mobland.
She's wrinkly, but I mean, she's still in weirdly good shape. So it's kind of
But-
yeah,
she's wrinkly, but she's fully active. Moving around and she's done hey, old
Look at her
people.
go moving around.
Dude, fucking Big Rame's
Staying
can't
words.
sit in a chair now. He's not
I
even.
haven't
as
given
old
her
as
the
her.
Peter Cushing treatment yet. Then
Not quite yet. No, I think she's still hanging in there.
Well, Clint Eastwood's even older. I'm curious to know like when he was born because he's still
was-
going.
Yeah, he's like 95 now.
95. Yeah,
Jeez.
he's making another film. Just started directing a new movie. Yeah,
We
Yeah,
can't
I mean,
lose
you
him.
past him, and
That-
like
that
on the
dude-
set or whatever, what he's directing. If you push past him, I feel like parts of him would turn to dust. Like you gotta be real fucking careful with him.
It's like in The Simpsons, when they prick Mr. Burns' finger to draw
Goes right
blood
through
and it just dust comes out. He's like, yes, I'm old.
Doesn't he say like try this one? I think they saw a vein in there the other day.
Yeah. Yeah, man, Eastwood, I think he's on power saver mode and he's been on like 1% battery for a few years now, but he's just hanging in there. Never die, Clint. We
I
love
guess
you.
his son is in the limelight a little bit, but I don't really know any like big titles he's in. Scott Eastwood.
He's kind of like a supporting actor a lot of the time.
Mm.
Like he'll get small roles in bigger movies. But
It's
he's
a
never
shame.
quite. Yeah, I don't think he's quite got like his dad's charisma and his screen presence, which is unfortunate. But it's the way it goes sometimes, I suppose.
I guess Clint's just gonna have to keep acting for him.
Yeah, well, it's like Sean Connery's son. Was it Jason Connery? He is like the spitting image of his dad, or at least he was back in the day. Absolutely never reached the same level as Sean. Again, just didn't quite have that acting, the chops and the charisma that his dad did. Never mind.
The guy who plays Sentry, isn't he the son? Is he Bill Pullman's son? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Lewis
cool.
Pullman, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
That's cool.
He is honestly to go from playing like Bob in Top Gun Maverick to doing this. He's a pretty versatile actor. Like his ability to be intimidating and stuff when he wants to turn it on is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully he goes on to good things because I really liked him in Thunderbolts. He was probably the one thing that made that movie watchable.
So anyway,
Yeah.
now I have reason to watch that movie.
Yeah. It's what else can I say about it? Really, it flopped.
I think it's funny how everybody completely forgot about it. Here we are. I mean, we're talking about it now, but I mean, we're not thinking about it. It's over. It's done.
It is, yeah, and they had Captain America 4 flop. They had Thunderbolts flop. They've both just been forgotten about and swept under the rug, and they've got Fantastic Four on the way, which not looking good so far. The talk swirling around it seems to be they've had to put it through a lot of reshoots. It's very heavy on the girl bosses, which is kind of what you'd expect from Marvel at this point. Apparently, the finale is basically Sue Storm and the female Silver Surfer teaming up with a superpowered baby to defeat Galactus.
what?
Wow.
So,
Your worst nightmares can't construct that.
because it's like, is it Franklin Richards who's like the baby, like the son of Reed and Sue Storm?
I don't, but why would? Sure, you could argue they've got like big plans later or something, but I should be like, why would you want to do that?
I don't know how you would
This
represent
early.
that on screen and not have it look
Well,
goofy. Because
just make a fucking Fantastic Four movie first, okay?
They're really going for live action Incredibles right now.
yeah, pretty much. I think it got to critical mass when you saw Grace Randolph. Because having to criticize it and call this stuff out. Like, oh, okay, I don't want to say MCU, but like this is really what it feels like now.
I'm glad that you gave us a long, disillusioned preamble to introducing her as a clip in your video. It's like you had to prep us psychologically for
She's
it.
fast becoming a favorite on EFAB. We enjoy her.
Oh God, her voice is hard on the ears, but like I genuinely tried to think of other ways that I could convey that information, and I thought, no, I need to give you the full experience of what she's saying here, and there was no way to shorten it because she took a long time to get to the point. And yeah, I just thought, look, I can't hand out like radiation suits or anything to, protect you for this. You just have to go for it. God,
What's her audience? Is she like
It's
a
funny
YouTube
you
version
mentioned
of
that,
The View?
Echo, because I actually met a couple of Grace Randolph fans out in the wild. Just came up in conversation, and I had to bite my tongue and just be like, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I haven't heard of that. Please tell me more."
Do they breathe the same air? Do they eat the same food?
We seemed to be doing that. Yes, we were sharing a meal at a wedding, and yeah, I mean they were eating normal people food. What can I tell you?
Wow.
I love this. I love Grace Randolph. She's insane in such an entertainingly special way.
I agree.
I mean, she's real proud of that New York view that she's got going on. Just like every video there is. Like, okay.
She'll say anything. You'll never know what's coming next.
Well, I think in that,
I'll love it.
In that moment, particularly, I could see how much she was wrestling with the programming that she was given. Because the rules of engagement with modern media is you cannot criticize anything with a girl boss in it, and so she wanted to clearly. But she was really struggling against the psychological programming she'd been given. And so you could tell the conflict going on, and her brain was just, I don't know, going a little bit haywire. And so she couldn't really figure out what to say. So she just kept going, come on. It kept going like that. I was like, I don't know where this is going, but I'm quite enjoying
You're
it.
palpatining her. You're like, I feel your conflict.
Yeah.
She's like, no.
I'm surprised that just random viewers that scroll through YouTube, like Chris Stuckman and her, they pop up. I remember similar to you, Random. I went out with this girl a few months ago, and I was telling her that I was on your show, Drinker, and she didn't know what it was. I was very disappointed in her. But even worse yet, she was telling me about how she likes movie reviewers and such, and she likes film critique. And you know what she pulled out? She showed me Chris Stuckman on her phone. She subscribed. She watches every video. Ooh, fair to say it. We didn't go out again.
I was going to say that's not second date material.
That was
right there, man.
That was it.
He doesn't say anything. Why?
I don't know. I don't know.
I used to watch Chris Stuckman's video. I really like Chris Stuckman's Alien 3 video. It's like an hour long, but then something happened, and I don't know what.
I mean, I think it was, he got a movie that he tried to make. Or he did make a movie, yeah. And I think he got to that point of not wanting to burn bridges with the people of Hollywood because he wanted to be one of them. And so because he was so afraid to say anything critical of anything that they made, he ended up just saying, well, nothing in all of his reviews. And then, I don't know, man. He just became a channel about film celebration. So you've got a movie critic who can't criticize movies. I don't really understand what he is.
I can claim that I've never personally been Stuckmanized, but I just have an image of him that's quite abiding. That when he does this last show of him just finally taking off the black leather jacket, and slowly putting it on the back of his chair, and then turning off the lights, that'll be the sequence.
Oh gosh. Well, Drinker, if I can circle back to the Sue Storm conversation, I think the female Silver Surfer, I think, is horrifying and terrible, right? But I think Sue Storm running the show with the Fantastic Four alongside limp dick Reed Richards, I don't think it could possibly get any worse than that. I mean, clearly in the trailers, they are trying so hard to convince us that she is going to be, she's going to wear the pants. And it really looks like she's going to. I think it's fine to put her in maybe not so much a leadership place, but maybe like a co-op with Reed. But I think they're just showing him as such a limp dick pussy that it's inexcusable. I don't know how they're going to be able to work around it where just normal people can accept her as the leader of this group. I don't know what they're thinking. It makes me sick. I was watching the trailers over again, and it just utterly makes me cringe. I don't know how they're going to do it.
I think you can tell from the body language and just the first moment when the Silver Surfer arrives. I guess that's when someone has to open a dialogue with it, because it's just an alien being from their perspective, and it's Sue Storm who does the talking. And I just thought, okay, well, that sets the tone, really. From what I understand, they'd approached several different actors before Pedro Pascal to play the role of Reed, and they turned it down. And the theory seems to be that, like, they read the script, or at least they got an understanding of the story, and they realized he was a complete pussy, and they had no interest in playing him. Whereas in comes Pedro Pascal, like, I'll take on a role.
Why do they want to make him a pussy? Why would they want to do it? I just don't understand. If they're trying to put Marvel on a new direction and give us some great, competent male heroes, because I mean, Johnny Storm, you know, other than like the disappointing news we heard about him, you know, turning away from his sort of ladies' man persona. I mean, he looks competent enough in here. I just don't know why you would want to do that with Reed. They're making him just so nervous and angsty and oof.
They probably will make him the sort of mad scientist of the group. So rather than being the leader, he's going to be the guy who's like coming up with solutions, like academic solutions, and maybe it's Sue Storm who has to implement them or whatever. And so that might be his role now. He's the research guy, he's the tech guy. You know, the Thing is obviously the muscle. Johnny Storm is just the sort of loose cannon. You don't know what he's going to do because he's kind of crazy, and so she's like maybe the glue that has to hold everything together. That's, I guess, the theory.
It's the compounding, though, one thing on top of another. So Sue Storm becomes the girl boss who kind of drives the narrative. Pedro Pascal is kind of pussyish and generic and obvious. Torch is kind of slightly emasculated in a weird way they didn't need to do, where he's insecure, and that's why he's projecting this like fake brittle masculinity. So if you compound all these things on top of each other, and people sniff it out real quick, and I don't know why they do it. It's become like a compulsion for them now. They can't stop.
Yeah,
really sad stuff.
I think it'd be.
Oh, sorry, Drinker, you go.
It's it's essentially the rules, I guess, that Disney have to operate by, and Disney Marvel, should I say. And I tried to describe it in my video as like, it's like watching a crack addict try and get clean. You know, they are trying to move away from this stuff. They know it's bad for them. They know it's been damaging their brand and so on. And maybe they get a little bit away from it for a little while. Maybe something like Deadpool and Wolverine slips through, and then they're right back on it, and they're hooked again, and they're just right back on the habit. And, well, you know, what can I say? It's going to get reflected in the box office, I think.
I think we would be easier to accept it if we just haven't received a chain of this garbage over and over again, just the same principle. I think we could. I could accept it if we hadn't seen this 10 more times before this. I mean, it's insufferable, clearly, and I don't know. There's a time for everything, I think, but they've overstayed their welcome with that idea.
Yeah.
Well, these are the vibes I'm getting from the Superman trailers too. That there isn't very much of a distinction between the Clark Kent and superhero characters. Like when Superman leaps up from the ground and says, "Hey buddy, eyes up here," it just seems like he's being a dude rather than this kind of stoic noble character. And so I don't know, it's just when I see films these days, they just have this strange, almost harrowing sense that there's nothing relatably masculine here, just the basic ways that men interact with each other, comport themselves, express themselves, have ironic controlling conversations. All that stuff is just not there. It's very strange. It's almost disembodied culturally when I go to the cinema.
Well, I think there's two extremes to it, because at the one end, you've got like the hyper macho, I guess, like 80s style of movie making where the guys are all posturing and, you know, like talking real gruff and like trying to out macho the guy next to them. Then at the other end, you've got what you have with Marvel movies and stuff today, where it's all the guys are all very neurotic and jittery and always like, you know, second guessing themselves, and every time they try and do something a little bit heroic, it has to be undercut with some goofy humor, like poking fun at them. Isn't it funny that they're trying to do something like heroic? Isn't that so outdated? And so, I don't know, man, it'd be nice to have this kind of middle ground where they just get to act normal again. Like they get to have flaws and relatable issues and stuff that they're wrestling with, but also, hey, every so often they get to do a bit of honest to goodness heroism and not have it be the butt of a joke. That'd be nice. I'd
You know,
like that.
Drinker, you make a great point there. You know, I think the second guessing and then just the sly remarks that take away the weight of anything important, it's just ridiculous. And I'm wondering how younger audiences are responding to this, like how it's affecting them. Because I know growing up, still at my age today, I watch movies and they leave impressions on me, and I'm inspired or I'm demotivated by the main characters you watch. And I'm wondering if younger audiences are starting to take this, starting to take notes and figure out, is this the man that I want to be? I'm really curious about that. I don't think there's been enough consideration on that front. That's probably what Disney wants, really.
Well, I think Echo, you've kind of talked about this, not in necessarily the vein of Marvel movies and stuff, but like the kind of media that say young men and boys are being it's being inflicted upon them, and the impact that that's going to have on like their outlook, their attitudes, even just their morale and how they feel about themselves. And you've done some great videos about it. Yeah, I guess I'd be interested in your take on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, the main thing, of course, the main sort of horrible thing is the social constructivists who had the perspective that, you know, gender isn't really inherent. There's no inherent masculinity or inherent femininity, that these things are not only socially constructed, but they're also negative, and that they're being socially constructed because it forces people to conform to things that constrict them, that narrow down their opportunities for expression, i.e. boys. This doesn't swing both ways, by the way. And so when you have depictions of masculinity and its stoicism or staunchness, even assertiveness to a certain extent, there's like a subtext or irony to it that this is, you know, socially constructed, and so therefore not really authentic masculinity. And so they always want to pull it back to being sensitive and expressive as ideal, as a way for a guy to comport himself as more emotionally mature. But what it actually ends up as is emotional incontinence, where you get stuff like Doctor Who, and you get all these characters in Marvel who are too frenetic and won't shut the fuck up, and they're too jittery. And you lose those key masculine things where, you know, guys might want to try and regulate the rhythm of a conversation. They might want to slow things down. They might be like ironic subtexts about, you know, you'll apprehend someone and what they've said, and there can be lovely little textures in there in the way that guys talk to each other. And these can often get misconstrued as being inexpressive, when really there's actually a lot going on there in terms of dynamics. But Hollywood writers who are kind of pussyish, they don't really detect that kind of thing. So it's the idea of trying to be emotionally open and relatable, and they can't get their head around the idea that for a lot of mainstream guys, that's just really tedious and benign and convivial, which is the last thing on earth that guys want to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. You can feel it. You know, you can feel it in the way that they act on screen, the way they talk and stuff, and it just doesn't relate. It doesn't resonate. And that's the real problem. Like, none of these characters feel like people I would either want to be or that people that I know. Because if I did know them, I would fucking murder them because they're so annoying.
I mean,
and I have done many
Cap
times, in fact.
The way that Cap and Iron Man used to interact, that's what we like to see. Like, there's friendship there, but there's also interesting tensions to explore, and they're two cool dudes. That's what we want to see, but we don't get any of that kind of stuff. I mean, I watched Alien Romulus, and I was just almost screaming at the screen, just settle the fuck down, these male characters jittery and running around all the place.
Well, yeah, because compare that to the original Alien, where there's a lot of like, there's banter between the guys, especially like, you know, Brett and Parker, like they've got their own, like they're the kind of working class stiffs, and then you've got this sort of higher ranking officers, the way they conduct themselves, there's tension between them, but like it feels real. And they're not overly emotional most of the time. Like, as the movie progresses and the situation gets more and more desperate, tempers fray for sure. But generally, they conduct themselves pretty composedly. And
like, the captain was really subdued in that film. Like, I've never seen a character before or since who's that subdued. Awesome. Yeah, but it's great. Well, you love it.
They're all people making smart decisions for the most part under pretty difficult circumstances. They're reacting as their training would suggest, and they make choices that make sense. And they feel like adults. This is, I think, the biggest difference is these guys feel like adults, whereas a lot of the characters you get nowadays feel like children or young teenagers in adult bodies. They are so immature, as you say. They're emotionally incontinent. They can't control themselves. They're always blurting shit out. They're always making like goofy jokes, and it's not how adults work, especially trained adults who actually have a job to do. It doesn't feel real.
Do you think they've
Yeah.
started like maybe changing the focus to market more towards kids because it is more juvenile the way they speak? Do you think that's part of the rationale?
I don't know whether it's that or whether it's just the actual mental age of the writers has declined considerably.
I'd say it's probably a bit of both, because you definitely have that right, Drinker, but also we're in what we could probably call like the TikTok generation, where people just don't have an attention span. So that will be where you get things like the joke quotas, where you need, especially in things like Marvel, and we saw it in Star Wars a bit as well. Basically, any movie that's going to make over $1 billion, you have to have something to hook them, so that way it can go on a clip on TikTok or a YouTube short or whatever it is. And I feel like the wrong lessons were learned from, like Joss Whedon, for example, the first Avengers movie, and James Gunn with the first Guardians movie. There's lots of like quips and jokes and stuff in those movies. They are very funny movies, but it's very rare that either of those directors will undercut serious drama. Obviously, it happened in Age of Ultron, but I, don't know exactly how much of that was Joss Whedon's fault. But the wrong lessons have been learned, and now you end up with things like, for example, Love and Thunder, where everything, the film is a joke. It's not that there are jokes in the film.
Don't remind us.
Itself is a joke.
Yeah. I don't know if it's as well, like when you have a successful formula, there's a temptation over time to amplify it. Like it's almost like all the traits of it get exaggerated with each passing movie. They get a little bit more extreme, a little bit more, either because they're looking for, this is a successful thing, let's do just more of it and we'll make even more money next time, or they gradually lose sight of the balance that was necessary to make it successful, and they just think, people respond to goofy jokes, so let's just put like 50% more of them in this time. And those things just get, it's like that, copy of a copy of a copy thing. It gradually degrades and you lose the original quality that was there just because they're replicating the same formula over and over again.
Did you think Thunderbolts was actually funny, Drinker, or did all of that just fall flat for you?
I didn't laugh a single time. I don't think. It's not because I don't know. It's how do I even describe it? It's like the humor was just painful. It was tiresome. And there's nothing worse than like trying to push a joke that isn't funny. It's like, well, people didn't laugh initially, but I'll just keep rolling with it. Like, that's probably the worst thing you could do. You need to move on to something else. And that's what the movie does. Like, everything gets, stretched out to the nth degree. And yeah, combine that with a really flaccid plot where like the characters are stuck in the same location for about a third of the movie at least. God, it's a slog of a film. And it's a shame because there's some good ideas in there. There's the potential for good stuff. It just never gets realized. And yeah, the result is, I didn't laugh once. Like, I thought Red Guardian's a fucking pain in the arse. Every time he shows up, I just, like, how many times can David Harbour just yell a lot at the camera and expect us to laugh? I don't get what they're going for there.
Yeah,
I was surprised by Thunderbolt, what I would call entertainment media canon, where even though it was kind of a dud, they just through persistent effort managed to create the impression that it was a big cultural success and everyone liked it. I'll give them marks for their efficiency in doing that as a kind of canonical thing, where they just kind of created that narrative that people just eventually, through being pummeled to death by it, eventually agreed to. So I'll give them credit for their efficiency.
Like, it was successful, damn it.
I'm so glad the whole New Avengers BS didn't work, or we'd be in big trouble. I think we'd be seeing a lot more ridiculous marketing ploys like that came out of the thin air. That was, wow.
Was that just a marketing gimmick, or was that a part? Because I haven't seen the film. I just know that, like, in the marketing, they just changed the name of the movie. Is what exactly happened?
It was planned. It was definitely planned in advance, and I think it was just a bit of a gimmick. Because Thunderbolts obviously came with the asterisk, and everyone's like, what does that mean? And it's like, well, it's a placeholder name until they come up with the actual name for them, which you get right at the end of the movie, which these are the New Avengers. Okay, great, well done. And so they probably thought if the movie had been more popular, this would have been a real, like, oh, wow, isn't that crazy that they're changing the name of this film halfway through the release rollout. That's cool. as it was, like nobody was particularly enthused by the movie anyway. It was doing pretty poor box office numbers, and it just looked desperate. Then it looked like they literally changed it just to put the Avengers name on it.
I just don't know why Disney doesn't want to give people what they wanted. I think you guys probably are familiar. There were so many images that surfaced when Thunderbolts first released. And, you had Baron Zemo in there. You had the Red Hulk. I mean, imagine how sweet that would have been. That would have been so much fun. And I think, like, another piece of news that I guess that sort of dropped with the screener for Fantastic Four was that, the Thing is barely present, or he doesn't do anything cool like the whole movie. It's like you have the Thing there. That's the staple in the Fantastic Four. I'm going to watch this movie to see the Thing do some crazy stuff. And I guess he gives us some sort of lackluster, uninteresting, actionless performance based on first reactions. It's like, how could you possibly let this happen?
I think he's probably a difficult character to grapple with from a writing point of view, because he is just a giant rock monster. And so there's only so much you can do with him to make him interesting. And so I think, they probably just thought, right, he's the big brawler guy. He's the muscle. He is the equivalent of the Hulk for this. And so there's only certain situations you can use him in. And we don't want to take time away from Sue Storm. So,
Oh, gosh, just give us some flashy CGI mess. If they can make it look good, I want to see the Thing do some crazy stuff. I don't know. So sad.
I feel like Johnny Storm should have been like one of the focal points. I think he's a super cool character. I think Chris Evans' portrayal of him back in the original movies was great. Like, I wanted to see more of him. But again, he just seems like kind of a pussy this time around, and he's not allowed to be a ladies' man because that's problematic. So you've kind of neutered the character already, because he's the classic jock who's been given superpowers. He's a loose cannon. He's a bit narcissistic. He's a bit full of himself. But that opens up the possibilities for good character development.
Here's how stringent it is with the new writing, is that not only is he not allowed to be a ladies' man, but he's not even allowed an arc where he starts off as a ladies' man and then has to learn to be a better man. They won't even allow that level.
You can't even imply that in any way you can objectify women, even if it's in a negative sense, and the character learns from it, of course. Like, what is
It's
this?
weird. Oh, sorry, Drinker.
I was going to say, like, there's this weird sort of sexless quality to all these movies now. Like, you're never allowed to imply attraction really between men and women. You're certainly, I mean, the guys get their shirtless scenes, obviously, but you never get the equivalent for the female characters. You don't even get the barest hint of cleavage now. Like, it's just, it's gone. It's sterile, and I don't get it.
Yeah, there's a new rise of it's not kissing. It's like nose brushing and then cheek brushing into,
or they put their foreheads together and just kind of or close their eyes for a moment.
It's like watching Bollywood from 20 years ago, where they had strict rules about physical contact and stuff. It's really strange.
It's this strange sort of puritanical attitude that they have to it now.
When was the last time we saw like a comprehensive romantic swelling of strings and a big kiss in like a mainstream film between a heterosexual couple? When was the last time it happened?
Ant-Man Quantumania.
Well, if you could see it through the murk of brown shit.
I can't think of anything about that movie without just seeing MODOK
sludge and MODOK
with his big goofy face.
It's so funny that they blurred his buttocks for the Indian release of.
Thank God.
Just on Superman, why is everyone touting James Gunn as the right guy? Because his Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, Guardians of the Galaxy, there's a definite tone there that makes him successful. Is that going to translate to the earnest, almost cheesy sincerity of Superman, which is stoic, not in a two-dimensional way, but in an identifiable anti-irony kind of way? Is he the guy? And I don't know, because there's something very special about Superman that's tied to the time that it comes out. So when it came out in the 30s, the time when America's still in the deprivations of the Depression, and you've got fascism on the rise in Europe, and so you have this embodied, muscle-bound colossus who's perfectly virtuous. That's going to strike at a deeper register. And in the late 70s, there's cultural malaise. Vietnam and Watergate are still fresh in the mind. The oil shocks, distrust in institutions. And then you have Christopher Reeve as this earnest and noble figure on the screen. So when it hits at the right time in the cultural zeitgeist, then it really hits. But now, I don't really see it. So I don't know. I think there's problems on the horizon.
I think, yeah, it doesn't fit with James Gunn's sensibilities, at least what I've seen of him so far. He very much feels like the subversive, not necessarily deconstructionist, but like I want to show a different side to these supposedly, heroic characters. And I think he thrives more in the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of setup, where you've got a bunch of reprobates essentially who are kind of shitty people, at least to begin with. Totally in conflict with each other, have to kind of learn to work together out of necessity and show eventually some virtuous qualities by the end. I think that's very much that's why he did the Suicide Squad. Same exact setup. Again, it plays to his strengths. Superman, I don't really see it. But then I don't. It's not to say he can't do it. It's just it doesn't seem to fit with everything I've seen from him so far.
Yeah, I'm preparing a video for this where I'm coming up with the idea that this film, in order to succeed, can't just be mid. And even if it's upper mid, that's still not a success for this film. Because if it's Superman, the most identifiable superhero of all, the biggest thing you've got on your slate, you've got a gigantic budget, and you've got James Gunn, and you've racked up and aligned all of those things. And if that only achieves an upper mid, fall short of $1 billion, then it still keeps things in the same muddled, uncertain picture. Because then if that doesn't succeed on that level with all those assets, then what can you actually truly trust? So I think this is the biggest cinematic gamble for me since Iron Man in 2008, where they literally mortgaged the studio. So that's the stakes of this thing.
Well, this is also trying to set up the DCEU, like to redo the DCEU, right? So do we know?
It's gigantic.
Yeah, like, do we have any indication from the trailers, because I've only seen one of them, as to how much, I guess, of like setup and networking and stuff with other heroes, and how self-contained is the Superman story going to be? Or is it going to be, setting up hundreds of different things?
It feels like there's a bit of a superhero team going on here. You've got like Guy Gardner, you've got Hawkgirl. Like, what's the other ones that are in it? MauLer, you probably know.
They're called the Justice Gang, I guess, which is like the lamest name ever.
That's shocking.
Pretty shit name.
Well, they're supposed to be shit, right? That's the defense as it stands. They're supposed to be lame. One thing that's throwing me off, though, because I was talking to Az about this, the Peacemaker Season 2, is that before or after Superman? Have we got a definitive word on this? Because they're in that, and they seem pretty shit in that, even though what I've heard, the point of Superman is supposed to be that he gets them, in line, in shape, and working for better ideals. Because they're not villains, they're just not very good heroes. And that he's going to show us the true way, what's important, the principles, rather than like a corporate set of lame superheroes sort of thing. So not sure what's going on exactly. I'm sure all of you are very jazzed to watch Peacemaker Season 2 to see how it fits in.
I can't wait.
I liked the first series. The first series I liked the aesthetic and tone of it. It was great. I don't know why they persevered with it. So anyway, I wrote down some bullet points for what James Gunn has to achieve with this film. Opens to strong word of mouth and critical acclaim, 80% plus Rotten Tomatoes. Launches David Corenswet as a definitive Superman for a generation. Establishes clear tonal and narrative continuity for future DCU entries. Builds faith that DC is now under competent stewardship after years of misfires. Creates online enthusiasm, fan art, memes, and rewatchability culture. Revives Superman's place as an aspirational modern icon. So that's all he's got to achieve.
Why do I get the feeling of like Joss Whedon brought in to try and rescue Justice League? It's like trying to achieve like a million things all at once, with limited time. And like
plus the suit is freaking me out. Like the 1978 suit wasn't kitsch at the time because that's just what the 70s were like. So that was their normal. But you're bringing in a retrograde kind of 1978 looking suit for a thing that's happening now. It just looks goofy. Really strange.
Something. Oh, sorry, Drinker.
No, you're right. It's I think people compared it pretty unfavorably to the Henry Cavill suit. It just looks awkward and padded, and it's like a kind of shitty old-fashioned muscle suit you would put on a weedy actor to try and make him look bigger. And it's a shame because David Corenswet, like from what I understand, he's actually bulked up pretty impressively for this. But you can't tell from the suit that he's wearing. So
yeah, it's like he's got 3 layers on.
Yeah, it's like the suit that Homelander wears with the padding on it. It just looks strange.
So something something I'm really concerned about with the new Superman, and I posted in our chat earlier, is that now you never know how far this really goes with like quotes or like dialogue you see written on merchandise, but it looks like they're kind of abandoning the truth, justice, and the American way, which is that's like I remember months ago. I remember hearing somewhere that James Gunn, he was proud of America, blah, 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 going on about it. And it got me excited because I thought we were going to get that line again here. And I'm not a big Superman guy, but I remember the first time I heard Christopher Reeves say that, man, I just felt inspired. I was moved. I was totally into it. And I just recently watched that for the first time. And I was so excited to see this here. And now I guess it's truth, justice, and the human way. Now, I think that has to be the least human line anyone could ever
doesn't
write
roll
to.
off the tongue, does it?
It's just it's lame. Because I think the comics have ditched it as well. It's now like truth, justice, and a better tomorrow or something like that. And it all just screams modern day lameness. And I think it would have been quite a bold move to actually just go back to the really like old school classic sort of patriotic version of Superman. I know they won't do it, and they haven't done it for a long time, to be fair, in the movies. Like, even Superman Returns from the mid-2000s ditched it. They didn't have truth, justice, in the American way.
That wasn't in the Snyder movies, right?
I don't recall it, no. Fucking the Snyder movies were probably like, I just wish I was dead.
The movies would be like, truth, justice, and death.
What is the point in saving anything?
One extra factor... China has become less predictable for Western superhero movies. So Wakanda Forever, Eternals, Shazam 2, the Marvels, all either underperformed or weren't even released in China. So Superman might be seen as American propaganda light, heroic and patriotic and idealistic. And Superman doesn't have that big a cultural footprint in China, not the way that Batman or Spider-Man does. Spider-Man. So best case scenario for China is already going to be in the low end. So maybe they just think that if they tweak the words, make it less American centric and patriotic, they'll get that extra 40 million. So that might be in their thinking as well.
It's so sad.
I think they would have done better if they'd gone all in and just fuck it. Like, who cares about the Chinese market? They're never going to accept characters like Superman anyway. Let's just go all in with the patriotic angle. I mean, you got
to poke one of two bears. Like, you can poke everyone who got pissed off by the Captain America interviews where he's saying, it's not really about America anymore. It's about the world. So you can poke that gigantic demographic, or you can lose 50 million in China. So you got to poke one bear.
That really wasn't an American movie. I did not feel like, obviously you've talked about it a million times. We all have, Captain America. That's not Captain America, but it certainly didn't feel like it at all either. I didn't feel like I was, inspired to be a patriot in America. He did not in any way reflect what I would deem as an American hero necessarily.
That movie was an unusually colored president destroying the White House, and they managed to drain it of any political meaning. They clearly wanted to be safe with it. They were like, let's be careful, okay? We'll just have it be an action movie. It'll be fine.
It's just sad. Even with Captain America, we can't get an American hero. The
ultimate concession to political correctness as well was having America go to war with Japan.
As unlikely as possible
in the South China Sea as well. It's like, I'm pretty sure there's a much bigger and more powerful country that actually would go to war with you there. Bullshit. Hey, here's the thing, right? Because you mentioned Echo about this is like a movie that's essentially the best of what they have, right? Apart from Batman, it's like, really, if they can't succeed with this, then what chance have they got with all the other things that James Gunn has to launch? And just here's a little rundown, actually, of the other things that he has planned as part of the DCU. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Yay. I'm sure that, like, we're crying out for something like that. Clayface.
Who?
I'm kind of excited for that one.
Who's Clayface?
Written by Mike Flanagan could be a solid like horror movie, whatever, for Clayface. But what the fuck is it doing in this roster? You know what I mean?
No one's going to care about it.
I heard it's going down the route of the Fly.
Like
is Booster Gold still in the slate?
No. We've got The Authority. Respect my authority. You've got The Brave and the Bold. Yeah, and then you've got Swamp
any of that
Thing.
shit is. I don't know any of that shit. I don't know. I'm just a normie when it comes to that.
no one knows what that shit is. Like, no one's going to care. And that's my point. It's like, okay.
I don't know why this wasn't enough to be like, okay, James, when we gave you full control, we didn't mean full control. we don't mean this.
So are they not bothering reinventing like Aquaman and Wonder Woman and the Robot Man, whatever his name was? Are they just scrapping all of that?
I mean, I guess it's going to come in at some
They're
point.
all waiting. Like the Wonder Woman TV show, I assume that's still there was a bunch of shit about this not so long ago about like all these projects having no additional information for like 2 years, which is insane.
I wonder how quickly they'll drop release dates and like progress reports for these titles after Superman releases.
I mean, if Superman does like 1.5 billion, they will fast track the shit out of all of this.
Oh yeah.
But if it's a marginal success or even a flop,
onto streaming,
expect them to go real quiet and then expect James Gunn to exit at some point over the next year or so.
I can't ever see Superman, Batman, or Spider-Man ever failing. I just can't. Everybody knows those characters. No matter what, old people are going to see them, kids are going to see them.
Have you seen Man of Steel?
Well, I was going to say, you don't want to push it. You got to be careful. Like, I know that they weren't that happy with Batman's box office, but in retrospect, now it's like, we'll take that. We will take that. We'll have that if we can get it.
Don't forget, with hype, like Batman v Superman, that had gigantic hype, and it ended up with 29% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 63% drop off in its second week.
It made like 800. I think it made about 850 million. Though,
yeah, it did well then.
It made a decent amount of money, but it made like what 60 to 70% of what Captain America Civil War made, and no one, I think, was expecting that. Like, in what universe does a Batman and Superman movie make less than Captain America and Iron Man?
That was one of the biggest symbolic sort of like Marvel's taken over DC's, and he said like Batman getting dethroned, Batman and Superman dethroned by Captain America and Iron Man. It's like, what?
But like now, where we are right now, when Superman is coming out in like a month's time, is that correct? Month or two?
Yeah.
So right now is exactly the right time for them to be releasing a fucking banger of a movie, because Marvel is not in a good way right now. And if they actually make a movie and release a movie that is fantastic, and it's like, as culturally impactful as something like The Dark Knight or something, then we're going to have, DC movies going for the next 15 to 20 years while Marvel is trying to pick up the pieces, and maybe they'll pack it in. Who knows? Honestly, I think it depends on what exactly happens with the next Avengers movie, which is largely dependent on what happens with the Fantastic Four movie, which has so much work to do in setting up what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though. I hate to be like the worst angel of your nature, but if I ask you guys to explore the deeper recesses of your heart and soul and conscience, what are the actual likely odds that when the credits roll on Superman that you're going to irrepressibly thrust your fist into the air and walk out to the car park with a lightness of step, thinking, yes, they got me in the feels, and now anything is possible again, and I feel the bracing freshness of years ago? What are the actual odds?
It's very unlikely. It's more so that if they manage it, then it's going to be monumental, because now is exactly when that movie needs to come out.
I have kind of high. I think those odds are kind of high for me. I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to it. I think everything up until the last trailer had me personally pretty pumped. I'm not a fan of Superman like lashing out and like yelling. I thought that was kind of ridiculous. You think like a man of his caliber would be able to hold his temper a little better, especially for a little Lois Lane. But
it's going to be a lot of Deadpool Wolverine feels where people will themselves into thinking that they really super enjoyed it, but at some latent level they think, well, maybe I didn't actually enjoy that. I think
to answer your question, the best I'm hoping for is to come out of the movie theater and be like, that's pretty good. Yeah, they did okay there.
Wow.
I think that's probably the best I'm hoping for with this one, and it's not because I just want to hate it or anything, because ultimately I don't have particularly strong opinions about James Gunn's Superman one way or the other. It's more just the expectations are tempered, I think, by the lack of hype and the lack of novelty now, right? Because we've had superhero movies for decades, right? We've seen it all, we've done it all, and okay, it is Superman, but it's ultimately just another superhero movie. It's just a guy flying around, fighting monsters and saving the day, right? How many different ways can they do this? So they're not going to wow us with this necessarily, but they might give us a solid story, in which case we can say, it was pretty good. I think this is the best we can hope for.
I respect that they're trying to make him human. You know, I mean, you see him like just falling over, absolutely damaged. I respect that, and I see that. I like that we're getting emotion from him, and then he's not real stale or stiff. I respect that. So I think for me, I'm looking forward to seeing a more human side to him, because poor Henry Cavill, I don't think he didn't have the chance to be that exactly.
No, he was sadly wasted in a movie that didn't deserve him. But
just a note on the dog. I hate this thing where people lecture me about canon, like he's in the comics, it's canonical, or the Silver Surfer like being a chick, it's also in the comic in limited edition of 1990, blah 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 blah. Just because something is canonical, you can still make a judicious choices about whether to include it or not. So
you can counter them, Echo. You just tell them they race swapped the dog. Say like, no, they fucked the source on this. It was disrespectful, is what it was.
Do you guys know that we're going to get, speaking of race swapping, we're going to get a white Black Panther, apparently.
That was like the ultimate test for a certain group of people, and they failed immediately.
Yeah. It's like, are you gonna stand by your principles? No, you're fucking not. So, I'm enjoying the Schadenfreude of the whole thing. It's like, it's not so good when the door has to swing the other way, is it? You know?
One last little note on that. I just want to say that the Hermione announcement. I just want to say that there was a little controversy 10 years ago where they had a stage play, Harry Potter, and they had a mixed race young actress playing Hermione, and a bit of a stink in a controversy. But then J.K. Rowling tweeted, canon, the race of Hermione is never mentioned. She just got frizzy hair and she's bright, and J.K. Rowling loves Black Hermione. So everyone needs to calm down on that. That's a fun little thing.
I think the casting that they've done for the three main leads looks fine. Like, you know, as you pointed out, like Hermione is just described as having like frizzy hair or whatever, and large teeth. Apparently, they tactfully leave that out of the movies, but I can understand why, vanity and stuff. But yeah, like the actress looks fine. You know, it's more just
a minute. Brawler, have you seen Terminator 2?
Oh no! Why did you bring that up? Everyone brings it up.
All right,
no, I haven't. How do you know that?
What happened?
Have you not seen Terminator 2? What's wrong with your brain?
No. Somehow it reached the bar. No.
That's it, man.
Was that Dark Hour? That was probably Dark Hour.
Yeah,
boy.
I think you're going to have to go away and rectify that now.
Right.
Have you seen Terminator 1?
I have. You know, honestly,
were you not curious to know where this whole story was going?
James Cameron scared me off so many times. I'm having a hard time.
This is old
I know.
Cameron. It's still good.
Yeah,
Cameron.
I know.
This is pre-Avatar Cameron when he was making good stuff.
I can't believe you mentioned that, man. That is not cool. I'm so screwed.
Oh, you put it on yourself.
All right, well, now I definitely need to see it.
Now
there's no escape.
I'm going to ask you what you thought next time you're on, and if you don't answer properly, we're going to kill you.
That's
this is like Jay from EFAP, who basically hasn't seen any movie ever.
Or Snarky Jay, who hasn't seen Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah. What is it with Jays? Like
inexcusable.
they just movie retarded. There's a question here from Shan, who says, new Doctor Who has gone full circle. The first person on screen, currently the last. The very best episodes are among the best television ever, and there's also many more hours of very good episodes and scenes that made the experience all worth it overall. Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that pretty much everything from the past 5-6 years has been pretty poor.
I'll be honest, that's a nice way of putting it, the way they've just said it. It's like
He's been like super
watching
positive.
like fucking 6 years ago, more than that.
Well, I sent out a tweet where I had a side-by-side where it had the ratings for a Doctor Who episode in the last season of 1.5 million. And next to it, I put like a thumbnail drinker of one of your videos where it's like dissing Doctor Who with 1.56 million views. That's astonishing.
That's justice.
Crazy.
It's funny. I think it was Rags on EFAB who was like, "How long has it taken for Doctor Who to go away? I feel like I've heard about it for like a decade, just dying over and over again." And I was like, "What do you mean? Fucking Star Wars is the same thing. Like fucking Star Trek is the same thing. It's all these franchises that get beaten over and over again."
I know, but with Doctor Who, I mean, that is like I think other franchises have fallen further, but like I think Doctor Who has fallen the lowest.
Yeah. You know what? In Alien, when Ash has like the white liquid pouring out of his mouth, and he says, "I admire its purity." And that's how I feel about their political perspective. I did the research. They had so the gay doctor, the gay showrunner, and then they brought in 4 new writers, all of whom were gay or queer or transgender as well. the purity of that is astonishing.
I just
Purely
love that you're
political.
trying to get a job, and they're like, "Are you gay?" And you go, "I can be."
Yeah, it's just like I don't know how to describe it. It's like just created out of spite at this point. You know, where they've seen all the online criticism of like it's too preachy, it's too politically oriented, like it's all just about, you know, LGBT stuff and all that. And they said, "Oh, right, well that pisses you off, does it? Well, now we're gonna like give you 10 times as much of that with the new season. That'll show you." And I'm like, well, the result is, you know, you get episodes that have less people watching them than watch my reviews of them, and that's
their hubris is they can never fail. They can only be failed. So if the ratings don't work, it's not their fault. It's the fault that they're ahead of the curve socio-culturally, and society hasn't caught up to them yet. So they can only be failed. That's their hubris and mentality. Pisses me off.
it's
R.I.P. Doctor Who.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a unique situation we have here in the UK with the BBC, where it's like, well, you could fail as much as you want because it's state funded, and so you don't have to like compete commercially. You don't even have to get anyone watching your stuff. You just make whatever you want because like we have to pay for it. It's insane.
So weird. It's like something out of the 70s, like some weird holdover from those times.
It is.
The way they have the model.
It's some weird hangover of like our little socialist experiment in the 70s here in the UK, and like for some reason everyone's too polite to say like, no, we don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't know what to say.
Everything's like the 70s now. Is the rubber still piling up in Birmingham because they couldn't get the strikes over?
Probably, yeah. It's never been cleaned up.
Crazy stuff. Poor UK. I worry about you guys sometimes.
You know, we're always miserable here about
it's
something.
too late. Don't worry about it. It's over.
Yeah, I can remember us fondly. Mexi Rage says, "Sup, y'all? Hope everyone's seen Mobland. It's just fucking.
It is fucking.
And I think Harry's loyalty comes from him and Kevin's time in the Slammer. Also, why didn't anyone say the Godfather soundtrack and watch Godzilla, New Roar, and Design? Hail y'all. There's a lot to unpack with this one. But the first Mobland is absolutely great. Really enjoyed it. Good show. If people are not watching it, then you should be, because it's a lot of fun. Guy Ritchie's...
Doesn't it have something to do with boxing?
Not really.
Mobland, not really.
I read that somewhere, and I guess that was totally false.
That is false. Yes, go watch Terminator 2.
And the thing with Mobland is that the plot doesn't really matter, the machinations in the end. I just like watching these characters, and I'll just watch the overall aesthetic. It's great. It's good fun. And without giving too many spoilers, when Harry is tottering around gingerly with a knife in his belly, and he's saying to his wife, "No, you're right. No, you do it." It's one of the best black comedy moments I've seen in a long time.
Fucking stoicism right there.
Yeah.
It's just that, you know, Tom Hardy obviously has been doing roles like this for a while now, and he's just got it down to a fine art. You know, the intimidation factor, the way he approaches most situations. Like, I don't want to like inflict grievous bodily harm on you, but I absolutely will if you don't give me what I want. And like, he's trying to be polite, he's trying to reason with people. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
When he's talking to his daughter's prospective new boyfriend, who's of course just a piece of garbage, and he's in his face, the younger guy, saying, you know, "I'm giving her everything. I'm giving her proper beluga whale," and just seeing his simmering, barely restrained hatred and malice that he could kill this guy in a second. It's hilarious stuff. It's really good.
Is that like just a single season series where they're just doing like 8 episodes? That's it. Like, or is that going to get more?
I'm pretty sure they'll get a season 2 because everyone's just saying it's great, so it should be all right.
But I think it's like Echo said, like you could actually go in and have no clue what's happening and just watch scenes of characters talking to each other, just because the dialogue's so entertaining, the performances are so good. It's like it's a fun show.
Cool.
We
need something good on TV, man. It's been so dry.
Well, I mean, yeah, because like over here we had The Gentleman, and then we transitioned into this. Fun. So we've been getting some good stuff. What's this? Enoch Mammon says, regardless of our opinions of the recent Mission Impossible movie, can we all agree that the cameraman was intentionally zooming in on Haley Atwell's chest during the CPR scene?
Yes.
They knew what they were doing there.
Yes. And they were clever to do it.
I think everyone involved understood the assignment there, and they delivered. Thank you.
This is my first Mission Impossible film that I'm not going to watch. I've just heard that it's not really worth it on balance to go see it. So it's the first one I'm going to skip.
Yeah, don't watch it. It's not good. It's really bad.
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty fucking awful. Controversially, we ranked it as the worst Mission Impossible film out of all of them.
Worse
Worse than the
including-
John Woo one.
Including 2.
It can't even be saved by cleavage. It's that bad.
Whoa, that bad.
I mean, if
Cleavage
Haley
can save
Atwell was
anything.
just in a bikini the whole movie, like that could have rescued it, I reckon. Cleavage is powerful. What's this one? Silver Slug says, would you ever have a segment on Open Bar where a viewer could come on for a bit to argue a controversial take? For instance, this super chat can't be long enough to tell all of you that Tenet is a masterpiece.
Oh my
Fight
god.
me. We'll all fucking fight you.
We
name
can't
the
let the
time and
mentally
place.
ill on. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great idea in theory, right? But letting people onto your stream in front of like 10,000 people when they could say and do anything is it's a bit of a risk.
Worse yet, that means you have to rewatch it.
Yeah. The
For
only
sure, yeah,
good thing about Tenet was the Michael Spicer video where he did that little skit where he sits down and there's him talking to him, laying down. It's the moment in a Christopher Nolan film where you lose the plot. And so he's just talking to himself and it gets more and crazier and more ridiculous. So that Michael Spicer video is the only good thing to come out of Tenet. And plus, I just associate it with the lockdown. It's just got negative vibes to it for some reason. I don't know.
It was the only movie I think I saw that summer because, like, yeah, it was that weird spell, like where things had opened up a little bit in the UK after the first sort of, COVID wave. And then it's like, oh, great, I can go back to the cinema. I'm going to see Tenet. It's a Christopher Nolan movie. It's going to be awesome. And then it was like, that was fucking weird. And then everything got shut down again, like as the winter came on. And yeah, so that was like the one movie of the year. And holy fuck, what a disappointment.
Yeah, when the director says that you don't actually need to know what's going on to enjoy the film, then what are you even doing here?
I think I gave myself a brain aneurysm trying to work out the mechanics of like the combat towards the end, where it's like, okay, how no, just no, this can't be possible. Here's one here. Kuhaku, hail chat and to the panel. Lots of luck to everyone who submits a pitch for Trial by Fire. Yes, so if you go to the Kickstarter page today, it's open for submission for script ideas. So yeah, if you go to the Kickstarter page for Trial by Fire, you can see the link that you click on to submit your script. You just need like your PDF of your script and it's ready to go. So best of luck to everyone who enters. And once the competition is over, I think it's going to run for 1 month. We'll choose our top 10 and then put it up for a vote for the Kickstarter backers. They can choose who they want to win it. So, yeah.
MauLer, you have a story, don't you?
I do.
Ooh, he does.
So someone has to submit a pitch or a query and their completed script.
Ideally, yes. So I think you can just submit your idea if you don't have a script yet. And if it's a particularly good idea, then we can perhaps do something with it. In an ideal scenario, we've got at least a script that we can work from. So
Exciting.
that's the idea. And yeah, as for MauLer's one, yeah, it's going to start filming in about 3 weeks. So I'm going to be going down to London to see it get filmed.
Whoa, that's exciting.
And are going to be full of H.P. Lovecraft monolithic gods?
God, I
I
hope so.
wish.
Might break the budget on that, I think. So.
Suspicious amount of gas masks.
I just turn up with a sock puppet tentacle. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, it's like a guy in a rubber suit, like, aren't you scared?
Will you be making a cameo, MauLer? Just in the
No.
background?
Oh,
The plan
Thing
is
is-
no cameos on this one.
If he did, you wouldn't know. So
I know. You'd have to just study everybody.
yeah.
not even a voiceover and an installation like this installation will self-destruct in 2 minutes.
Oh,
Not even
Jesus.
that?
I'll have to consider it.
Do that, man. Do that.
I always thought the self-destruct countdown voice in Aliens, it sounded like she had an attitude. You now have 2 minutes to reach minimum safe distance.
Why
hurry
haven't
up
you-
now?
dude?
Yeah.
Why haven't you reached minimum safe distance
Yeah,
yet?
Ripley keeps fucking changing her mind. I'd be pissed off as well. It's like, are you going to blow up the ship or not? All those announcements she had to make. Poor mother.
I guess the
Oh,
lady
yeah, yeah.
recording it originally was like, well, no one's going to still be on the ship, so it doesn't really matter what I say at this point. I don't need to do another take.
I
1
do
minute
love that
left,
scene as well.
fuckers.
Like, you know when Ripley's trying to deactivate the self-destruct, and it's this immensely convoluted process that she now has to do in reverse, and she's got literally seconds to complete it. Like, you can just you can imagine the frustration and how much you would fuck it up if you were trying to do it yourself.
It's so weird. This weird, strange pipes and screws and things.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Yeah. It's like,
which is actually no, it suits the aesthetic. Like it's like a huge rig in space, basically.
Yeah, I love
Something
it.
like that does look kind of cool.
Are you guys ready for more? Do you want to see more alien stuff?
Oh,
I'm going to do this
to that one, didn't we?
Yeah, you walked right into it. I wasn't going to do it, but you walked into the trap. So here it is. So they've released the trailer for Alien Earth. It's another entry in the Alien franchise. Okay, I'll show some of it. I can only
Is this a TV show or a film?
This is going to be a TV show. So
Is it anime or animated?
Nah, it's live action.
Oh wow.
Yeah, let me read you the synopsis here. It serves as a prequel and is set 2 years before the events of the film Alien. When a space vessel crash lands on Earth, a young woman and a ragtag group of tactical soldiers make a discovery that puts them face to face with the planet's biggest threats.
Whoa!
Oh my god!
Fuck's sake. So that means they've got to come up with a way to get one of those eggs from that ship onto Earth before the Nostromo meets it.
Apparently, yes.
Dude, I don't fucking kill myself with the amount of like crazy chronology that's happening in the Alien universe. Just stop it. We already.
Well, you remember what
they
AVP Requiem did?
As if anyone considers that real. They've already announced they're filming Romulus 2 in the fall or whatever. So it's just
oh, fuck off! I hate this timeline. Right, I'm going to inflict this on you.
9, 8, 7, 6.
Do you
I remember.
Do you remember?
I remember. Remember Alien? I remember Ash.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Already bored.
This is like, are they doing like Jurassic Park but with Alien now?
Oh, I guess
They have an island
right.
where they were developing. They're developing facehuggers on an island.
Michael Jackson's old ranch is being used for a research island. That's weird.
People say like all stories are the equivalent of taking different ingredients and spices in the kitchen. You'll never have like an original piece, but you can always make different. Like the Alien franchise feels absolutely like you had 3 ingredients and you move them around as though we don't notice, and that's about it.
How's our girl?
She's ready.
You're gonna be the
So, like, she's got space cancer or something, I guess.
What's wrong with the one on the right?
Let's go.
She actually stole all of that girl's hair and just like super glued it to her head.
She's
I need more.
I think that's the Babadook lady, if you've ever seen that movie.
Oh, really?
I think so, yeah. She doesn't look too bad.
It's the girl who's the key to everything.
to a synthetic.
Yeah, she is.
Because I'm special.
No, it's because
There
you're
you go.
dying.
I hate this echoey shit too, man.
That's right. You're very, very special.
Wait, so we're doing like an altered carbon type deal in an Alien movie?
Why the fuck are we introducing this into Alien in the past as well? It's just like, what are you doing? That's not what.
Because if this kind of technology was widely available, then oh my god, imagine the implications of that. You can just download your consciousness into a robot body.
Hold on, didn't fucking Guy Pearce, Peter Wayland in Prometheus, he was going to die, and the whole mission was informed by him wanting to find the secrets of the universe. He could have just zapped himself into Michael Fassbender and been like,
that's true.
"Hello, I'm Guy Pearce in Michael Fassbender." That would be okay.
Look at me, I'm the David now. Right, so there's your spaceship crash landing in the middle of the city.
We have a downed spacecraft.
I want what's on that ship.
Oof. Wait, why am I getting like Jesse Eisenberg, Lex Luthor vibes?
Very much. Yeah.
We can do it. We're fast. We're strong. We don't break.
So I guess they're all synthetic.
Diversity team with strong
robots, I
female
guess,
character.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess they're sent in because they're all synthetics, and so they're expendable.
Hold on. Sorry, I may be synthetic, but I'm not stupid. Do they not remember that line?
I mean, it makes you wonder, like, if your consciousness is downloaded into one of these bodies and it gets destroyed, can you just be like loaded into a new one?
This is not something Alien can deal with. Altered Carbon was all about it. Alien is busy with spooky monster going. Can't be doing this.
This is
you would have to have a backup on a computer, and there's no way that they can do that. There's no way.
Yeah. Why does she have like haircut like fucking Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber? Why?
It was the style at the time.
It's Emily. Emily's gonna
micro bangs.
But the animals got out.
This ship collected 5 different life forms from the darkest corners of the universe.
What? Who would say something like that?
The movie. Whoa!
It's like he's gonna read a ghost story to them or something.
His
Life
synthetic
forms
brain
from
has
the
been hacked by
darkest
the
corners
screenwriter.
of the universe.
Monsters.
So I guess the idea is that it just randomly crash landed on Earth, then, right?
Yeah,
That seems to be what they're doing.
I mean, is it meant
People
to be
wandering
like
around
a
the
human
field.
research ship or something?
But would they have gone to Hadley's Hope or whatever it's called, or would they have gone to the LV something?
Yeah, I mean, is the whole premise of this going to be ultimately like, right, this is where Wayland Yutani first discovers the xenomorphs. The sample gets destroyed at the end of this show, and they're like, we've got to find another one from somewhere because we love this thing.
If that's the case, then that adds a massive convenience to, or not even that, like massive contrivance to the first Alien movie, because they just happen to go past the same place that they got the facehugger from. I think that's what they're doing now.
I mean, it might be like were these alerted to be on the lookout for a distress call that looks like it was that. Oh, fuck it. I'm just surmising here. I'm really reaching hard for this one. That's not good. Yeah, it's like this isn't the win that you think it is, guys. Having Ridley Scott on board. What is that annoying noise?
It's the spooky noise from the Alien trailers.
Yeah,
they always put in the Alien trailers. It's the original. Nothing original for us.
I'm rooting for
I
the
just want
Alien.
exactly. Yeah. Go Xenomorph.
I remember pulse rifles too. They were a lot cooler in Aliens. Though. These ones look shit.
Invasive species.
They're so gonna have a fucking predator there as well in some capacity. You just know it.
Predatory.
We don't lock them down.
Wait, is that Timothy Oliphant?
I think it is. Like,
guy.
He's
the only because of his hair.
Other than Nemec, I guess. He's the only actor I'm seeing this for, just to see what he's up to. He looks a little bit wacky.
Let him look like Rutger Hauer.
Yeah, he does actually.
That will be too late.
Oh dear. It's like Day of the Triffids going on here.
That guy.
There's Andor boy.
Kegi Manifesto.
Yeah. Are they going to do the whole like, oh, there's clearly a monster that's drooling on me, but I'm going to slowly turn around, like instead of just running away immediately?
Don't get eaten.
So original.
I mean, the monster looks like a goofy anime squid. It's ridiculous. It's like a Squiddly Diddly. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, when each sort of frame of what it shows you is like a third of a second long, what are you even supposed to take from it? Like you can't even process what you're seeing,
man. Like can anyone have a new idea for Alien ever? And it's just like, no, of course not. Like, right,
what is that little jellyfish thing?
Squiddly Diddly.
Yeah, they found it on the Squiddly planet.
The Squiddly planet. Well, there you go. Are you excited, guys?
Like the connection to Alien and like the Alien franchise and having the alien creature in that just feels completely tacked on, because you could do pretty much what they're trying to do there without having that. They've just added the name to it and added the creature from the looks of it.
You fucking bet.
Yeah. But
they're going to do Blade Runner tropes and themes of what does it mean to be human, mushed in with the alien predator thing, exposing everything that's bad about humanity and the weaknesses in humanity and humanity's avarice and selfishness, blah, 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 blah. And they're going to stretch it out for 12 episodes. But you know what? I'm probably going to end up fucking watching it.
I probably will as well, yeah.
It doesn't. Yeah, Alien does not lend itself to a TV show. Like this should be a short, sharp horror movie or an action flick like you got with Aliens. It shouldn't be like spun out like this. And it makes me wonder as well, like, is the bulk of it not even going to have any aliens in it? It's just going to be like corporate intrigue. It's going to be pretentious, pseudo-philosophical rambling. And it's going to be like Last of Us, where it's like, oh, are the infected still a thing? Should I even be concerned about them?
Yeah. No. And there'll be tons of padding of the runtime with slowly walking through forest landscapes or river landscapes, etc.
And everyone's going to
you know what this is going to do? This is going to, the way that crap Disney streaming Star Wars retroactively made the prequels look better in our estimation. All this crap, Fede Alvarez crap, is going to retroactively make people think that the Ridley Scott Prometheus films are actually better than they were, and they weren't. So that's what's going to happen too.
I hate how both of these franchises are being awkwardly rebooted. So like we had Prey, which I think was way fucking overrated at this point. And yeah, we had Alien Romulus, and now like they're spinning off all these other fucking crap things from them, and it's like it was just enough. They were just good enough and just successful enough to open the sludge pipes, and now here we go.
Has the film to series concept ever actually really worked?
Stargate SG-1 did it.
That was a long time ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a very long time ago.
I would say, I mean, Andor would count, right? I don't know if everyone here likes Andor, but like Andor is definitely an extension of Rogue One and A New Hope, so I'd say that counts.
How much staying power does Andor have for you guys? Like everyone raved about it and said that's good, maybe the best since the original trilogy. Is it staying sustained in your mind as that, or is it starting to fade now? And just
episodes 8 and 9 definitely are sticking with me. I think
I'm probably not going to forget the Gorman massacre. That'll be something that I'll think about.
Yeah.
But I think the overall like feeling I have for the show now is just like, well, I'm glad we got that. Probably not going to get another one like it.
Did you guys watch Rogue One again after finishing season 2?
Yes.
I did, man. It hit hard.
Yeah.
Did for me.
I think it hit better. I still don't think Rogue One that good.
Yeah, Rogue One is a definite step down. No. It's a definite step down from the quality of Andor season 2, but I definitely appreciated it more having the context of the TV show.
Something I was struck by moving from Andor to Rogue One was just the dialogue goes back to thudding a lot more. It's like the much less interesting lines from much less interesting characters. And man, she sucks. God,
there is so much fan service as well in Rogue One that they, like Tony Gilroy, deliberately avoided in Andor. He would not have random character shows up in a bar for no reason because it's the thing from the thing. That is all over Rogue One.
Yeah.
I did love seeing Vader though. I thought they did him justice.
Oh, but here's the thing though. I think retroactively, wouldn't you take out that first Vader scene retroactively? It doesn't.
I have been saying that since I saw the movie. Yeah,
the voice sounds stupid. Krennic, it doesn't quite work. He's just there for 2 minutes after his long trek that leaves again. If you just had Darth Vader at the end, it would have been way cooler. That's fine.
Exactly. The scene is fine.
The last performance from James Earl, like the last time we hear Vader in ever. That's it, because the rest of it's been AI garbage. So
well, yeah. So I think Fortnite is being sued right now because of James Earl Jones' voice. I don't really understand the whole story, but it's
so as far as I'm aware, they Fortnite added Darth Vader to the game, and it was using an AI that was trained on like Darth Vader's speech, and it was saying modern shit like skibbity riz and all that nonsense. And I think it's Disney that aren't happy about it. I didn't realize they made it racist.
But fine compared to talking about racism.
So random, you're aligned with me about that scene, and MauLer's digging in his heels. So Drinker, what do you think? Could they just have got rid of that first Darth Vader scene because it didn't add much, and James Earl Jones's voice sounded rickety, and just it would have been cooler to have the last scene?
I think it was fine to build him up as a presence in the movie because, like, if he just randomly shows up with no preamble or anything, like no establishment, I think it would have felt a bit jarring. So,
well, and I think it has plot relevance. Krennic is trying to go above Tarkin by going through Vader, and Vader trying to fuck around and do your job.
To be fair, like nothing's really accomplished in that scene in terms of Vader's commands to Krennic because it's like. Krennic comes in and he's like, "So can I have operational command of this whole situation?" And then Vader just fucking chokes him, and he's like, "Don't cause problems for me," and then just walks out the room. And I'm like, if I was Krennic, I'd be like, I don't really know how to interpret what you just did there.
Exactly.
Was it a yes or
like
be careful not to choke on your ambitions is a stupid line.
Like if you just like
You're
if you imagine
yes,
that
MauLer,
first scene didn't exist. If you imagine that first scene didn't exist and you're dealing with the events that are immediately preceding A New Hope, you know that Darth Vader is around somewhere. And then you get to that final scene and the red lightsaber switches on and it illuminates the room. I think that would have been even more effective had you not already had it revealed that, oh, okay, well, they've got Darth Vader's in this movie. It would have been more of a surprise.
I don't know. I feel like maybe a different scene might have worked to just establish him as being around or being active in this situation. Maybe not what we got with him and Krennic, which was just
what was bad about establishing Krennic trying to use the hierarchy at hand to counter Tarkin. That's what we saw in that scene.
Nothing was bad about that. What was
saying,
I guess
we're just saying on balance was what we're saying. Should it be in?
I think for me it was just the fact that the
why
scene
isn't that useful then? Why isn't that good?
Oh, it is good, but we're just saying, like, in terms of adding to the overall feel, momentum, the quality of the scene overall, and then plus also holding back for the ultimate surprise of him flaring up at the end. I think on balance, I accept your point, but on balance, I think I would cut the scene.
Well, so careful not to choke on your aspirations, right? First of all, yes. So I love the line. It's a great pun, right? And it's what Vader does. That's what he does for all of the OT. He puns.
That is fair. I just like getting some dialogue.
Vader is a witty boy, and I love him in the OT for that.
I've never heard him described that way. You're a witty boy.
That's why it's so good, man. Like the amount of lines, do you think you're being treated unfairly?
That's a good line. That's great.
Apology accepted, Captain Nita.
Apology accepted. Obviously fucking around. Yeah, like he's he fucks with people because he can. He's so powerful, so strong, and he knows exactly where people's weaknesses are. With Krennic, he's obviously appealing to the fact that it's like your attempt to climb the ladder is going to kill you, which, by the way, is what happens. Like Vader was right. And choking him while talking about choking on his aspirations, this is just him having fun.
On a side note, I do hope that just once in my life, I'm in enough of a position of power with some sort of subordinate where I can, from behind, put a finger on the top of their head. I'd like to be able to do that just once.
You kind of look like Krennic a little bit, Echo.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate
it. It's cool. And
get like a white military tunic and good to go.
What I like about the scene as well is that the Jeddah thing, right, which was more Tarkin than it was Krennic. He was trying to like make the operation take place. Vader was like, "What the fuck was that? You just like blatantly attacked, basically revealed our super weapon, and we're not even like fully functional. We're not in position for what we want to do. It was a disaster. Like it just makes us look stupid." And Krennic's like, "No, it's supposed to make. I'm supposed to get power now. Isn't that how this works?" And Vader's just like, "Can you please focus on getting successes rather than thinking about yourself all the time," which, is the OT character. And I mean, as to Drinker said, I think it's good to show that he's absolutely involved. Krennic, I think that works now better with Andor as well. The ladder climbing, seeing, because I don't know how it feels for. There's got to be at least one person on Earth who watched Andor only, then watched Rogue One and was like, "What the fuck is the cyborg space wizard man? What does he do?" I don't know how that would go, but it's just something to think about.
Okay, last counterfactual scenario. Instead of that scene, we have Krennic activate like a long distance communication thing, but we don't see the Darth Vader. We only see Krennic's reaction and his stress and strain and his ambition, and so we get to enjoy his performance in that respect while we just hear the voice of Vader, and then we get the cool reveal at the end. That'll be good.
As long as it doesn't fuck anything up, I love seeing the Mustafar castle. I love Vader's presence. I even like the way they cast the shadow, right? It completely envelops Krennic. There's all these little touches that, if it's not Filoni version where it's just it appears for no reason at all, which annoys me, but if it's there while also serving story purposes, I'm like, yeah, this is fucking awesome.
You didn't feel the castle felt a little bit Skeletor?
as far as I'm aware, that is just canon. He has his capital on
it's a baller move. Like,
I guess the answer
your
is
base
yes.
of operations in the place where you got your limbs sliced off.
Well, that's the
and set
logic,
on
right?
fire.
He reminds himself constantly of how much fucking hate he has within him to get as much power as he can for the dark side. That's what I remember, like, is part of what it's supposed to be.
Man, compare that version of Vader to the one we got in like the Obi-Wan Kenobi shit show.
I can't stand the voice. I wish they would just have him be silent.
I remember when he bursts in because what's her name? The black actress whose long convoluted backstory is that from a child.
Moses Ingram, yeah.
There's a moment where he's super angry and he storms in to raise her up and choke her. And the performance is so hammy, it's almost like cabaret camp the way he storms in. He's really pissed off.
I think it's the way it's shot. Whoever directed that show has no fucking idea how to stage an action scene or anything. Like, it's horribly done. And it's like, compare that to Andor. It's just like, so.
Did you guys see? Where is it? Hang on, I sent it to Gary because I thought it was fucking hilarious. Where are you? It's something to do with like what Star Wars, what Lucasfilm currently up to. It's a rumor, right? So we don't know for sure. Culture Crave posted it, but it says Dave Filoni is reportedly a top candidate to co-run Star Wars after Kathleen Kennedy leaves, which we all figured. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
The current thinking is he'd co-head Lucasfilm with executive Carrie Beck. I'm sure. Some worry he's too steeped in Star Wars lore, risking the brand losing broader audiences, which I thought was a really funny thing to say.
Yeah,
there's a truth to that, but it's a very specific truth because in a way you want them to be attached to Star Wars lore, but not in the way Filoni is. The final part says one Disney insider said, "quote He's not the Andor guy, he's the Ahsoka guy."
Yep.
One
perfect summation of what Dave Filoni is.
I think he's done a terrible job with live action, but I'd be surprised if anybody in this panel watched the Clone Wars. I know MauLer, I know you watched maybe some of the other animated series, but I grew up watching Clone Wars, and that was really my entrance into Star Wars. I fell in love watching those animated characters, and I thought he handled Anakin a lot better than George did in the films. And surprisingly enough, the world building in the Clone Wars is really incredible. The clones, you get a whole story arc with tons of different clones that you could care less about in the live action films. And you just see, it's just the world, the universe of Star Wars is so beautifully fleshed out. I don't like the live action stuff really at all, but I think the Clone Wars deserves some respect. So if you guys are ever interested in checking out Clone Wars, I highly recommend it because I love it.
Terminator 2, James Cameron is like, looked at as pretty retarded at this point. Same for Ridley Scott. Same for a lot of Russell T. Davis. Fucking hell. Dave Filoni, whatever great works he may have done a while ago,
it was a while ago.
He's being judged now on his latest
That's
stuff.
True.
He's got another chance coming with Ahsoka season 2, and I have a feeling he's going to fall flat on his face again.
Oh, you think?
He's the Phoebe Waller-Bridge of Star Wars.
Oh, great! No, he's better than her because at least he's actually made something.
Well, I think there was a super chat about this a little bit earlier. I forget which one, but someone was saying like, "What do you think about the fact that Andor seems to have splintered Star Wars fandom again?" And before we could talk about that as much as you guys want to, I was just going to say it is interesting that it is now being used to skewer Filoni, like. His new works will be compared directly with the highs of Andor season 2, which is so unfair because he can't possibly create anything like that. He doesn't know how.
Dave, you got nowhere to hide.
But could you imagine amassing the creative director role in Lucasfilm, having that kind of power, and there are people who work with you saying he's the Ahsoka guy, not the Andor guy.
I mean, to be fair, I'd love to know what they say about Kathleen Kennedy within Lucasfilm.
I am so curious about this Mandalorian film. I'm really curious to see what they do with it.
So that's
I'm
Favreau,
I'm
right?
not curious in the slightest.
0% curiosity.
Garbage.
Like, just to be clear, that being awful is a Favreau thing rather than a Filoni thing. Is that right?
I think this is his baby.
I mean, isn't Favreau a bit checked out of Star Wars now?
He's checked out of fucking art. The motherfucker he made The Lion King 2019. I'll never forgive him for that.
Yeah. We were talking about Andor here, though, right? There are interesting revelations that came out from Tony Gilroy recently. He was talking about this. He's basically saying that streaming is dead, and that because we talked about this just a couple of weeks ago in Open Bar. The fact that Disney bankrolled $650 million for the 2 seasons of Andor, which is insane level of money.
That is insane, yeah.
They could have made 2 or even 3 Star Wars movies fully theatrically released for that price, but they made Andor instead. And he had, funnily enough, he had to fight with Disney for the budget on that one. He said there, when he was like fighting with them over like budget allocation for this, Disney executives told him, "We don't have the money that we had before. Streaming is dead." And I just thought, isn't that interesting? They gambled so fucking big on Disney Plus. And wow, did they lose on this one?
Well, it's funny, the value,
and we killed it.
The value isn't going up at all. I mean, none of the new titles anybody cares about. None of the new series anybody cares about. And, you know, they're not watching in the theater, and they don't really want to watch it at home either. And I don't think modern audiences, just common moviegoers, are interested in checking any of these films out a second time. Even the stuff that I've enjoyed watching in the theaters, because I go frequently, I don't really want to see anything twice. And that's sort of what you would have a streaming service for, right?
In theory, yes, and that's what you used to have physical media for, and that used to be a really strong second source of revenue for movie companies. You know, they would release something theatrically, and it might not do that great, but they knew they would make it probably another 50% revenue off DVD and Blu-ray sales, and that would be enough to make movies profitable. They don't have that anymore. You've got a streaming release, which is just a flat rate, and that's it.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I'm a big physical media guy. I love purchasing Blu-rays any chance I get. I don't know why I'm weird like that, but that's something that annoys me about streaming in particular, is we're spending all of this money. I mean, some of these services are expensive, especially like those ad-free plans are like $16-18 a month. And, you know, you're really paying for nothing. You don't own anything when you're on a streaming service. You're feeding them money, and that's not a tangible product for you to hold on to, for you to resell, for you to do whatever you want with. I mean, just the principle is so disheartening.
It reminds me, because open bars are going for like 3 years. We probably were calling it as well as before that. But the two major takeaways of like the big COVID streaming sort of thing was never assume the numbers you gain in the COVID era would ever increase as the years came on. That was the stupidest assumption you could ever make. And then secondly, as much as it was going to disperse from Netflix, right? A bunch of people took their properties and put it on their own services. Netflix was still always going to win. It was the established titan, which, as far as I know, latest like stats on the most famous and most successful shows, Netflix is still winning.
I mean, Prime is a pretty strong contender, but
Prime would be the runner-up, because Prime doesn't even have to win per se. It'll be fine.
Apple TV is like another one like that, where they're in a weird situation where like their main revenue source is outside of streaming. Like they're just almost a vanity project, where it's just like, yeah, we make a shit zillion dollars every day. We can just dick around and make TV shows as well, I guess. It doesn't matter if we're successful. Netflix has to succeed on the strength of its own content. But yeah, the problem with the streaming wars is that everyone, including Disney, threw themselves into this thinking, right, if we just pump out so much content, we'll become the preeminent streaming service, and ultimately we'll just gain the monopoly and we will be the new Netflix. The problem, as you said, is like the old Netflix never went away, and so you can't beat them at their own game. They are too entrenched, they are too popular, and so you've just got a whole bunch of people trying to win that crown and ultimately bankrupting themselves in the process. Like
what I saw, stuff like, like Squid Game and Adolescence, I think they were like in the top 5 or whatever this year for streaming shows. And then you've got, I don't know, how well did Wednesday do? Wasn't that like when it came out? And then you got,
it popped,
I think it did well, yeah.
Did it?
Yeah, as far as I know. And then
everybody was talking about that.
TikTok dance gave it 30% of its revenue.
And then, of course, you have Stranger
That's why I watched
Things.
it.
It's like, can you believe it all started with House of Cards all those years ago?
Yeah. With Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
Well, the whole model for me is messed up, just in terms of a product and a market. Like, if you want a product, you can go out into the market and get it. But if you've got film studios or corporate entertainment studios where everything is discrete and sequestered from one another, that's not how taste in entertainment works. The whole model is basically screwed from the start, that you have to pay $12 for this limited squared off content, $12 for this limited square. It's so counterintuitive and not how entertainment marketplace should work. So the whole thing is screwed from the beginning.
I think it's reaching a breaking point as well, where some of these streaming services are going to fold. You know, I think Paramount Plus is just like that,
hanging on by a thread.
Taylor Sheridan is the only guy like keeping Paramount Plus running at this point. Without him, they're fucked, and they're probably going to fold. They'll get bought over by someone else, and like you're going to start to see the amalgamation. I don't know how much longer Disney can keep it going with Disney Plus. Yeah, they've certainly got the back catalog of all their old movies, the Fox movies that they've bought over, obviously as part of the merger. But like nobody's interested in their new stuff. And if you're talking about spending $300 million a season for something like Andor, which as good as it was, nobody fucking watched. Like that's not sustainable, clearly, because it doesn't bring any revenue in. You're just throwing away money.
Well, and I'm not sure how sustainable that would have been if people were watching it. You know what I mean? It's like 300 million. Jeez.
It's so funny how there is no goodwill, faith, or optimism in any of the future releases Disney announces. I remember back in 2019 when I was even more optimistic than I was now about Star Wars. And I was at a Star Wars celebration, and they announced all these big things. You know, Kenobi's getting a series, Mandalorian. I got to see footage before anybody else. And my gosh, I was hopping. And now you hear something like that, and it's, visible groans. You turn off your TV and you go to sleep.
Yeah, great comment in the chat there. The balkanization of streaming is encouraging piracy. I'm right behind that idea.
Oh yeah,
it's absolutely true.
Yeah, especially I was going to mention this earlier. I believe it was Disney. The Willow show would be one example of this, where it's just gone.
It doesn't exist anymore.
And the reason why they got rid of it off the streaming service is because I guess they would have to like pay out royalties every time someone watches it, which they don't want to do.
Gone but not forgotten.
Yeah, so it's completely gone. The only way to acquire it is through piracy, which a lot of people are just not comfortable doing that or don't know how, which means that you are just killing art. Like Willow is, from what I've heard, terrible, the TV show, but it's not the only example of that happening.
Yeah, but it's gone back to the beginning of civilization, where storytelling is just based off word of mouth, handing down oral traditions and stories, because it doesn't exist anymore.
I'll be like, hey, little boy, back in my day, we had a TV show called Willow. You can't watch it anymore.
Let me tell you the tale of Willow and his lesbian friends.
Warwick, he hasn't been doing so good since then. I was at a convention recently. It was the ICCC in Nashville, and he was there. Nobody was in his line the whole weekend, and he was miserable.
That's miserable.
Because they couldn't see him.
You couldn't see him behind the table. He rode around on a little hoverboard. Yeah, it was a picture.
But the nuclear arms race was also ridiculous, because you want people to make the decision that I'm going to pay for Disney. I can only choose one streaming service. So the one I'm going to pay for is the one which is bulked up with tons of content. But in order to bulk it up with tons of content, you got to spend vast amounts of money that make the thing non-profitable. So you get stuck in a doom loop like that.
I think, it's funny. We all keep using the word content, and I know y'all have definitely talked about this a million times, but yeah, content is just the perfect word to sum up what all these services have been doing, just making, material that's just A plus B equals C. They're not, reaching beyond the bounds of what we've seen already. They don't really seem too interested in strictly entertaining and giving us something new. And I think that's turned a lot of people off from even going to the theater. I think it's leaving a lot of bad taste in people's mouths, where they see these like bland films, and then it's like, okay, that doesn't really encourage me to get into film, right? So they look for other medias.
Yeah, well, I think from the point of view of stuff that just goes direct to streaming, like we've heard reports, obviously, in recent months and years where the writers are straight up admitting that like they write stuff assuming that people aren't even really watching it. Like they have it on in the background. And so it's written and structured that way where people aren't really paying attention.
That's so sad.
It is slop. It's slop content. It's just something to have on in the background while you do other things. And so there's that, but there's also the loss of that revenue stream, like I said earlier, like where movies that could have turned a profit ultimately through home media don't anymore, because they go to streaming and either people pirate them or like the profit margins on streaming are just non-existent. And so it encourages non-risk taking behavior from the point of view of studios, where they don't want to greenlight projects that are a bit more, say, risky, ambitious, trying something a bit different. They would rather go for the safe bet, because the only opportunity they have to recoup their investment is from the theatrical release window. It has to come from that. And so you have to play it safe. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. You get, again, slop, boring, predictable slop.
Data
I think, like you say,
risk-averse, creatively fragmented. So are you saying that you can't build forever on debt, hype, and IP? That's an extraordinary.
Weirdly, no. Yeah, it's you know, at certain points, reality starts to intrude. It's
okay. Counterpoint: Avengers: Doomsday has 70 main characters. All right.
Ooh,
this is
sold.
This is the ultimate, like, it's like the last stand of that model.
Yeah,
really, isn't
brain
it?
rot Avengers.
I'm really excited for it in that sense.
Where it's purely just, hey, remember these other movies that you used to like? You know,
dude, it's gonna be Weird Waldo, but Waldo is Magneto and Professor X. All these fucking countless characters.
Calling them main characters is one thing. Calling them characters is another. But if you're telling me that there are 70 entities portrayed by actors in a movie, like, I don't think that they're gonna, there's no way that they're gonna be elevated to the status of characters. They're not gonna have lines of dialogue, they're not gonna have arcs, they're not gonna have objectives or desires or relationships. They're going to be a cardboard cutout that is dangled in front of the screen.
This thing could turn out to be an exquisite fiasco. This has a potential for that. I'm relishing the possibility of that. Could be great.
Yeah.
What was I going to say on the streaming? That
if I could bring up something streaming related, you know, something I've always loved about movies is I love the social component. You know, Drinker, you guys are really keeping movies alive. That's part of the reason why I was interested in doing YouTube, was because of all you guys, and also investing more in film itself. I think a lot of just commonplace viewers, you know, they want to see what's good. They want your guys' opinion. You guys are keeping movies alive, and that really is special because nothing else really is. You know, I love going to the video rental stores. I used to do that often, and that's where you would hear good things about films, right? Or maybe you'd read an article about it online. I don't think people are really doing that as much now. And the theater is sort of the last space, the last physical space where you go and you talk about films, and you're in an environment where you can learn about a film that is different than what you'd fancy normally, right? And streaming has taken away all of that. You know, you get just a little snippet of a big film. It could be something great, it could be something terrible, but a lot of the time for me, it doesn't really sell itself, so I don't even bother watching most of it.
I think the result is like a fragmentation of that experience, right? That cultural experience. Because I think, Echo, you made a video about talking about this, where we are losing the idea of shared cultural experiences now. Like, whether it's a movie or an event or whatever, where everyone's talking about it the next day. It's like, oh, can you believe that thing happened? And I can't wait to see where it goes next. That sort of thing doesn't really exist anymore. Or if it does, it's extremely rare. And so
part of that is political cultural, and part of it is to do with quality. Like I would say that
I think volume as well is an issue, where there's so much stuff.
Like, music is fragmented. There used to be, every decade there would be, you know, some sort of zeitgeisty thing like punk or glam or grunge. But the quality has gone down so much that, as a normie or as a person who's getting older, the onus is still not on me to go searching for the good stuff. If Stairway to Heaven or Hey Jude was released tomorrow, all of us would know about it one way or the other within a couple of days, because the quality would burst through. And in the publishing industry, there was a time when people would read Trainspotting in the pub because it was cool and it was zeitgeisty, and that's gone as well. And there was a time when, if the president was going to make a live address from the Oval Office, the whole country would come to a standstill and watch. Now it's just more content that's on the screen. So those collective experiences are dimmed and diminished. Unless there's a chicken jockey, at which point everyone goes.
That's the shared experience. Chicken jockey.
One thing on the streaming, I do like how there's a nice blur between the low end of cinema and the high end of streaming, where show like TV got cinematic, or shows like Succession or The Bear or Severance, they got prestige to them, and I do like that. That is a nice offshoot.
Yeah, I mean, we started to get that, I guess, with things like The Sopranos back in the, what would that even be, like the early 2000s? Well, I know it's not streaming, but like it's still like using, you know, big name actors and stuff, and having high quality TV. And that's kind of what ushered in that golden age of TV in the 2000s. And you do, you still get prestige TV, and it is nice to see it when you get it. But again, it's like there's so much now. There's so much content. that I feel like if something does break through to mainstream success, it's just not seen by enough people most of the time to get everyone talking about it.
I did run the numbers on collective experience, and it's across the board, no matter what your perspective is or your background. The Emmys down, the Grammys down in viewership, the Academy Awards down, but also NASCAR viewership's down. Also NBA, everything is down.
Wow.
Collective experience.
Yeah,
jeez, strange. I guess it's just sports, right? I mean,
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just, do people just have too many things to do? There are too many choices, perhaps. Tell you what. How about we try and answer a few super chats?
Let's go.
Finish up, because I know there's lots coming in. People are asking if we're going to answer them all. I'll do my best, okay?
I wonder if many of them will be Elon related.
I know, yeah. All we can say on that is like the unfolding drama on Twitter is just fucking hilarious to watch. Like, no idea where it's heading. Pac-Man says, when you were talking about Lara Croft in your Tomb Raider video, it occurred to me that the only thing that Hollywood hates more than toxic masculinity is non-toxic femininity. It's curious.
That's
really fascinating.
Yeah. I'm very grateful for you putting in that spectacular side boob. You had like 2 or 3 loops of that in your video. I appreciated that.
I did. I remembered that very fondly from the movie, and then like, dredged up the footage, and I was like, that is really good side boob, actually. I've definitely got to use that.
You made a good point. Do you think the actress now would look back in the film and, like you said that in the video, do you think that's true, that she would look back on that now and maybe think that it was dated? I don't know.
Both from the perspective of getting older and not being able to exploit that aspect of herself now, and also just the culture and the zeitgeist has changed, and I think it's become fashionable now to look back on those movies as, oh gosh, I can't believe you showed a bit of side boob, or you implied that she was a little bit sexy in addition to being a gun-toting, ass-kicking adventurer. How degrading that is, because I think people like Scarlett Johansson have complained about stuff like that being hypersexualized in her early days. She was more than happy to exploit it at the time, I'm sure, because it resulted in a lot of big
thing is, even her character was exploiting it, though, as part of her feminine wiles to get what she wants. So it wasn't like she was unempowered when she was doing it.
Well, I think that's the difference now between how they write characters. Like they recognized with a character like Black Widow that sensuality and sexual attractiveness is a tool that a woman can use if she's a spy or some kind of undercover operative to get what she wants. It doesn't have to just be about how many people she can beat up, because that's not always the objective. It might be to get information or gain trust or whatever. That's a useful thing. You can't do that now. And so her equivalent now is like, what, Yelena, fucking short, dumpy Florence Pugh. And she just goes around beting people up. She's just a man.
I'm so glad you said that.
For all intents and purposes, Yelena is just a guy. She's just a guy who beats people up. That's it. You would
Isn't she funny, Drinker?
Guy is what you say, yeah. With like 4 foot.
Yeah. I've never understood the Florence Pugh appeal. I don't get it, but maybe I'm just
a lot of people, man. I don't get it either.
Yeah. Everyone in the chat's just going pew pew. Anyway, Andrew McCarty says, if Darth Vader is the most iconic / best movie villain, then who is the most iconic television show villain?
Have we asked this before? I could have sworn this is a familiar.
Well, it's back.
Gus Fring has got to be up there.
I was thinking that one too.
Yeah. I'm going to say Scorpius from Farscape.
I'm going to say
personal favorite.
I'm going to say MODOK from MacGyver.
MODOK?
No.
That would have been a good cross.
Transcendent mediums.
It's never too late to stop being a dick. GS Pena says, happy 16th anniversary to The Hangover. Don't you just feel old now? Jesus.
Oh, I'm going to backtrack and I'm going to say Silverland from Blake 7, my favorite TV villain.
Blue Collar Loser. I saw Ballerina. Liked it. She wins every fight with weapons and the environment, not hands. Plot is as simple as they all are. Keanu gets some good kills in. Brief fight. She can't take him. Excellent action.
I was so worried about that. If somehow she schools John Wick, it's all over.
Yeah. They at least are smart enough not to do that. And if they at least show her winning fights plausibly with weapons and guns and stuff, rather than actually beating up guys twice her size, that's something. The trailers kind of hinted at that as well, didn't they?
I just checked. It's being directed by Len Wiseman, the dude behind the Underworld movies, who hasn't made anything in a decade.
That's a weird choice.
Yeah. Yeah, he made all the Underworld movies, Die Hard 4, Total Recall remake, and now The Ballerina after 9 years.
That dude's had a wild career.
Yeah.
Blue also says Brawler is awesome. Great channel reviews.
Thanks,
well,
bud.
he also portrayed you on Terminator 2, so I wouldn't like him.
At least somebody's nice to me.
Man, Chad Stahelski, he's making a Highlander remake. I just cannot wait for that. That's going to be so awesome.
Henry Cavill's still doing that, is he?
Yeah, Henry Cavill, Chad Stahelski, Highlander, like everything is coming perfectly into sync. It's going to be great. Can't wait.
Yeah, you remember Highlander? It's back in Pog.
I mean, would it be inappropriate
who would
to
you
say
have
that
as
there
the-
can be only one? Like you can't be remaking that.
Well, they're going to have their work cut out to try and replace the Kurgan. Like, who would you get to be that guy?
I mean, who would you have replacing Ramirez? I mean, you know, when I think of ancient Egyptian people, I naturally think of Sean Connery.
Yeah, ancient Egyptian people with 6 Scottish accents.
Oh man. Yeah, I think part of the appeal of Highlander as well was like the absolutely crazy Queen soundtrack, and also just
incredible.
It's a big old slice of 1980s cheese, and I think you can't really replicate that in the modern day. It's just impossible. Ipo Manchunubi says, cheers! I looked up the most iconic video game villains, and there was a top 10 list that had Sephiroth as the most iconic, following with Joker from Arkham and Bowser. Wow.
Yeah, you know, iconic.
Yeah. Mr. Taco Bouti says, he's not the Andor guy, he's the Ahsoka guy. Glad at least one Disney insider called a spade a spade. I see more people turning on Filoni every day.
Hell yes.
Let the hate flow through you.
MauLer
RTN said, well, who could have seen Disney's problems coming? Chuck Norris did. He was born a month early so he could take his enemies by surprise. He knows everything. Indeed. Disney are reaping what they sow, I guess. Jordan Pendragon. Layoffs. Hollywood's in trouble. Girl bossing in the MCU. Oh no. Commence the Wilhelm scream. Yes, that scream. That high-pitched yelp you hear seemingly everywhere. It's distinctive enough to have its own name. Yes.
I am curious to see what they do with like with the live action remakes, because you know you had Snow White, big dump, and then you had Lilo and Stitch, huge success. So now hopefully they're going to just start looking at what people are actually saying and make a decision based on that, because they're getting a lot of mixed signals according to their data.
I don't know what this means, the success of Lilo and Stitch, because it is going to make a shit
damage.
$1
Snow White. I'm sorry, that's just the reality of it. They'll be what they'll assume, which is not even unreasonable, is it was Snow White. It wasn't the fact that it was a live action remake. Is people just don't care about Snow White? Gotcha.
Yeah, there was like a perfect storm of there were like 20 different problems, 20 different reasons, and any one of those is a reason for that movie to fail.
I think 19 of those reasons were called Rachel, though. You know, what I mean,
that's kind of where I'm going with this. Is that they're so fucking stupid. They'll just be like, "Well, we're fine. We thought we were worried for a second there, but
well, will they lay off the remakes of classic animation and just go for the more modern stuff? Because they're doing the live action Moana as well.
Oh no!
Well, I mean, they've mostly dried that well anyway. There's not many left. So, you know, we're worried about stuff like Treasure Planet, Tarzan. There's a few more that we could expect to get ruined. But the scarier, arguably, part is when they start hitting Pixar and remaking all of them. That's what everyone's expecting now as the next step. And Moana's just, it feels like a door being pushed open once that does really well.
I think the new Pixar film, Elio, I think it looks fun. I'm curious to see how that turns out. Nobody's talking about it.
I'll watch it once they make the live action remake, okay?
Oh gosh. Wow.
I do like
bottom of the barrel.
The PR speak makes the layoff sound almost friendly, like something we're sharing together, and it's quite nice. As our industry transforms at a rapid pace, we continue to evaluate ways to efficiently manage our business while fueling the state-of-the-art creativity and innovation that consumers value and expect from Disney. As part of this ongoing work, we have identified opportunities to operate more efficiently and are eliminating a limited number of positions today. so they just sneak it in.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like friendly and affirming.
I don't know if you've like ever been in meetings like this where the company's announcing like restructuring and it's like, yep, there's redundancies on the way, and so it is always phrased like that. It's like, hey, so there's lots of opportunities for growth and efficiency drives, and
Dynamic
so you're going to take part in that, and it means that half of you won't be working here at the end of the year.
Adapting to the new market.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I wish that it would be great if just one time they like some intern just put out a true
fucked.
press release. Yeah, it's like we're fucking losing money hand over fist. We've got a bunch of people we don't know what to do with. We're shedding employees.
Henry Ford, his policy was that at the end of the year he would just get the list of workers, the 10% least productive. He would just draw a line over them, and they were gone, and just replenish it every year like that. So that was a strategy.
I like the Steve Jobs approach, like cornering people in corridors and elevators and stuff, and just saying, "What did you do this week to add value?" And if they couldn't answer immediately, be like, "Yeah, you're fired." That's it. Deval says, "I feel 28 Days Later never truly gets the cred that it deserves, kickstarting a new era of zombie movies, the fast-moving kind, and as a genuinely scary film." I mean, I think it's
freaky.
Really fondly.
It gets its credit. Yeah,
they re-released that in theaters, and I saw it for the first time a couple weeks ago. And man, it definitely looks very dated, but it was great. I loved seeing it.
I mean, it was done on a low budget, and I think it does succeed in being genuinely unsettling at times.
It's horrifying.
It combines that with a real melancholy, like, reflections on what's been lost now that society's essentially collapsed. Like, there's some good stuff in there. Really good.
I think it's a great example of a movie that kind of plays to the fact that it has a very limited budget, because it isn't trying to do anything that you can't do with that budget. The way that it's filmed, I forget exactly how much of it is handheld, but from memory, a lot of it feels very almost like it's being shot guerrilla style, like a documentary.
Yeah.
I like Grain. I think Grain is grit. I mean, that's why that film, I think, succeeds so well. And here we are with 28 years later, and it just looks, everything's so clean and picture perfect. I don't know. I think it's going to take away from a lot of the grit from the first one.
Yeah. One thing about moguls, just to get back to that, entertainment moguls, but moguls in general, like when they go into the offices, into that environment, everyone is like, "Oh, Mr. Johnson's coming. Everyone be quiet." Or "Mr. Johnson, I just want to thank you for this opportunity that you're giving me." But eventually, Mr. Johnson's got to go down into the common democracy of the street. So when someone bumps into him and turns around and goes, "What were you going, you dopey, stupid tosser?" Like, it must be such a come down when you come out of that environment.
Yeah. I don't know how much they mingle with the common people. Most of these like millionaires, like they get chauffeured everywhere they go. Pegsy says, "My sister has just started training Giancarlo Esposito, which is surreal as I just finished my Breaking Bad rewatch." Cool. Anyway, favorite screen duo. That was a weird transition, but sure. Okay.
Screen duo.
Duo.
I mean, Walter and Jesse. Since we've mentioned, Gus, we're gonna go with them.
C-3PO and R2-D2.
I don't know.
Kronk and Yzma.
Drinker and MauLer.
Wow.
Drinker and MauLer. That's it.
We had to pay you a lot to say that, so thank you. Much
Check in the
appreciated.
mail.
Yeah. Social Morlock says, "I discovered a neat channel, Little Cozy Nostril, short vids on random film topics, the decline in cinematic nudity, creature actors, for example, gorilla costume actors, from the old days, informative and very entertaining." There you go. I think I want to make an entire video essay about the decline of nudity on screen. I'm quite disturbed by it.
I
There
did
seems to
make
be a
one.
rise in
I made
male
one
nudity.
I made a whole video about the decline of boobs on screen. Surprisingly limited views. I don't know why. That's incongruous.
Well, did you have problems with YouTube detecting nipples and then, blocking the video?
No, it wasn't nips. It was just like boobs in slow motion, lurching and swaying on screen. But I don't know why that didn't do gangbusters. Maybe I'll re-upload.
There's been a shocking rise in the number of penises shown on screen, though, on TV shows and stuff, and I am not happy about this. It's like they're overcompensating for all those years when you couldn't show them, and now any HBO show, it's just like, yeah, you're going to see it. I don't want to. Okay, stop it.
That was one of the most shocking scenes from 28 Days Later in the theater when it opens with Cillian Murphy and he's laying there and his dick's just hanging out. We died laughing.
Vanessa says, hello, everyone. Rank these quotes from the least to most cringe. Okay, so is everyone ready?
All right.
Number 1, Black Girl Magic. Number 2, it's literally impossible to be a woman. And 3, it's Mighty Thor.
Ooh.
Well, Mighty Thor would be least cringe.
I think
that's
the
least
second,
cringe.
Yeah.
Well,
the second quote was from Barbie, and the third one obviously is Jane Foster from.
I was going to say that's Jane Foster. That's not even the cringiest thing she says in that movie. I don't know why they picked that. Remember she says "Eat my hammer"? That's like a big.
Did she say that?
Yeah.
I
still don't think that's as cringe as the other two.
She's like, "Eat my hammer." And it's like, ooh.
What were they thinking?
The whole like Black Girl Magic thing is pretty bad. Like that's a tough one. It's just
I guess
though, at least.
I guess Black Girl Magic is meant to be funny. I mean, yes, it's cringe, but it's at least meant to be funny. Whereas the Barbie line is not. The Barbie line, from memory, takes place in like a very serious monologue when they're trying to, speak to the suffering of women or whatever it is.
Yeah, just when you think we've seen the last of those lines, we get another humdinger, like "Get away from her, you bitch" from Alien Romulus, and then "I'm gonna be a dad." Who would have thought "I'm gonna be a dad"?
That may go down in history as the most cringy line in all of TV.
Definitely up there.
But yeah,
I just love how she decides that someone else's child is hers.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
It's Papa Lazarus from fucking League of Gentlemen. Like, you're my child now.
Just stakes her claim on someone else's baby.
Yeah. Well, he's gonna die in an episode or two. So it's
Is Boat Sinky from Rings of Power still number 1, or has that been displaced? I think that's still number 1.
Hey, no, the boats on the rock thing. That's not even the worst one of those like insane metaphors from Rings of Power. There are plenty that are. You got salt from a table. You got loads.
Yeah, was it like
Sauron was played like a harp under Sauron's hand?
Oh yes, I was plucked note by Sauron, strumming me like a harp or something.
Oh, wow!
Be careful with to not walk on water because it's a long way to the bottom. That was another good one.
Yeah,
nothing but bangers.
Give me the meat and give it to me raw.
That one's great.
Echo, did they film Rings of Power in New Zealand? Did that happen at all there?
No, we did. We were blessedly relieved from not having to have
That's
that.
good.
It's like your show is too cringe for our country.
As far as I was aware, parts of season 1 were apparently filmed in parts of New Zealand, but honestly, I can't tell. Season 2 was filmed in the UK, so I guess me and MauLer and Drinker in Scotland and Wales, so I guess it's my fault then because I'm in England.
We blame you.
Yeah,
no, that makes no
I'm
sense.
sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't stop them.
Oh, sorry. Robert Montalongo says more Andor could equal Baze plus Chirrut plus Bodhi stories.
Could have improved a
that'd be
lot more of
stretching
Rogue
it.
One, I guess, but that's if they had like 5 seasons.
Could equal.
I have no context for any of those things.
No,
they're all the names of the characters in Rogue One that don't remember.
Oh, right.
We have another contender for most cringe line as well from Vanessa.
Oh, yeah,
it will be when it fits a woman.
That's the worst one.
Yeah,
it won't get worse than that. Disney Princess.
I refilled the condom jar from that was
Oh yeah, of course as well. You've got to do better, Senator. You've got
somehow
to
Palpatine returned was good.
Oh, great line, yeah.
Andrew Valdez is asking, who's your favorite Disney princess or Disney couple? For me, it's Rapunzel and Eugene. I think even without the show, they're a really amazing couple, and the show they're in is fantastic.
I like
Rapunzel and Eugene. I thought it was Rapunzel and like Flynn Rider. From
Eugene is his real name. He changed his name to Flynn because he thought it was cooler.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they were cool. I think they had good chemistry. I'd be all right with that.
But I mean, Mulan and what's his face, who was probably gay
Rumbo.
and was disappointed. Rumbo.
Yeah, Jasmine and Aladdin I thought were quite good together.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
Oh, I've had an upgrade is also good. Oh no, the number 1 is something a male presenting Time Lord will never understand. That's gotta be
dude, that fucking
number 1.
everything you could have wrong with that line is wrong with it. Like, it doesn't even make sense. He was technically a woman, like hours ago?
Yeah. So immutable characteristics and non-mutable at the same time. It's impossible.
Is that like an example of woke on woke friendly fire or something?
I think so, yeah.
Fucking everyone hated that episode. It was awful.
Social Morlock. After the prequels came out, someone should have made a bunch of biopics about each Jedi that they showed slain with Order 66. Could have been cool. Maybe. I mean, yeah. You kind of know where it's all heading, I guess. I mean, as far as we know, like probably about 300 Jedi seem to have survived Order 66 at this point. So, yeah, you could continue the story after that quite
That's
easily.
been one of the most disheartening additions I think Disney's ever made. Like, Yoda literally says, in Return of the Jedi, that, when I pass, the last of the Jedi you will be. And wow, how wrong was he? It's so sad. I just don't know where.
Is
this a Filoni thing?
The TV shows to show how all of them
You can't
die.
take that back. That's too far.
Yeah.
Too far.
Is this it? I was going to say, is this a Filoni thing where he's like keeps adding more and more Jedi that survived Order 66, or was this going on outside of what he does?
I think everybody wants to, because everyone wants their own Jedis whenever they get to do a story, don't they?
Yeah. But the thing is,
Tony Gilroy.
You could do that and just do what the Acolyte did, but actually do it well and set it like hundreds or thousands of years prior to the George Lucas series. It doesn't have to be set when the Mandalorian's set.
I want to have Sith as well. I want him to go meow 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 and fight.
We need a Mog backstory film. I want to know.
Mog.
His Jedi. Imagine being his Jedi mentor, and here's your Padawan. Oh fuck! I got to teach this guy. Oh,
I mean, can you fail a Padawan? Can you just be like, "Nah, this guy's untrainable. He's not cut out to be a Jedi."
Yeah, turn to the dark side. I don't care.
What about that big fat one? Like, imagine if you were his mentor. Like, try and lose some weight.
Just be like, for your first lesson, you got to survive in the vacuum of space.
He has more midichlorians.
Imagine like a Dagobah sequence where he's trying to like swing from the vines, where they keep collapsing back on the ground. A nightmare. He wouldn't be able to fit down into the little cave where he's got to face himself. He wouldn't be able to fit
Every
down
time
there.
he goes for training as well, it's like, Master, can I not learn to use the Force? Why do you just keep making me run around? It's like, well, you need it, trust me.
For a Jedi Master to demonstrate the power of the Force, instead of lifting an X-Wing out of the swamp, they just lift that guy to show the power of the Force.
We put him in an X-Wing. That'd be fucking Yoda's like suggesting fasting, and the guy's like, "Oh, for like meditation and stuff," and Yoda's like,
"Sure,
yeah.
Go with that, we will."
Well, he'd be the only Jedi where it would actually be acceptable that he got stabbed by a lightsaber and survived, because the subcutaneous fat would just wrap around the lightsaber.
So much blubber.
Well, you could use him as a tauntaun, like if you were freezing to death, you just cut him up and get inside him.
That's a Family Guy joke, I think.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Anurian Price says, "Hail panel, what are your favorite cars? I've got a Mark II Sirocco and a Project Mark I Golf, which has the structural integrity of Disney." Fucking cut and shot. Yeah, favorite cars.
I like the El Camino.
Fair dues. I like the Shelby GT 500, the Mustang. That is a beautiful car.
I would have been a Jaguar up until about 4 months ago, but that advertising
what happened?
ruined the whole brand.
Yeah, I had to tank your brand.
Who doesn't love the Impala, the supernatural car, the iconic one? Beautiful.
The mighty hump. Fuck it, let's get smashed, you fuckers. Sounds like good advice, I would say. Craig the bad guy. Who would win? Malcolm Reynolds versus John Crichton. Also, MauLer, do another Ultimate Showdown.
I love John Crichton, but he's not going to beat Malcolm. Not happening.
In a fist fight, maybe? I think Malcolm would outsmart him, but I think John could outfight him.
That's when are we talking like both of them at their prime then? Because John at the beginning of Farscape would get fucked by Mal.
Yeah, but like by the time he's peaked, like he's pretty dangerous. He's learned quite a lot of skills.
To be fair, like Crichton's a good threat, but Mal is next level and he's ruthless.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah, Serenity has a fucking great fight there.
Yeah. And as for Ultimate Showdown, sure, we'll do another episode some other time. Probably not going to be the same because it was a nightmare getting through 300 fights with differing results.
Yeah. Yeah, have you guys watched Murderbot? It's silly enough, but the episodes are too short. I haven't seen Murderbot. I've heard good things, though.
Where do people find these titles? I've never heard of that in my life.
Silly.
No, I've never heard of it.
Martin says nothing too bad can happen to Diswoke. I mean, you'd be surprised. Mexi Rage. What is this one? Oh yeah, we did this one already. I remember reading that one out. Yeah, Darth Cactus, 1945, huh? Would. What would you fuck a year? I mean, it's like, if it's possible, I suppose you can give it a try. Where there's a will, there's a way. It's Mr. Yang says, do you find yourself using a different scale when judging the West versus East for movies, shows, or animation? If so, what, for example? So, yeah, it's an interesting question. I suppose, like, if I was to take something like RRR, like, by any conventional standards, it's absolutely bonkers, but it works in the context of the culture it comes from. I don't know.
I think that speaks to tone. Yeah, that I think speaks to tone, because that I've seen a couple of that director's other movies as well, the Bahubali movies, and they are the same kind of thing, but I mean, even more over the top. And it's kind of like, imagine RRR crossed with the Lord of the Rings. That's basically what those movies are. And I love them. I think they're brilliant. But the reason why they work is, I guess, tonal consistency, because wacky bullshit will happen and it will feel okay because this is how it works in these movies. Same kind of thing with things like Kung Fu Hustle.
Right? Kung Fu asshole? Is that what you said?
No, Kung Fu Hustle. Kung Fu Hustle.
I mean, that's a whole different movie you're talking about there.
It's just because, of course, it can't coexist in a world with some like The Godfather or something like that. And it's like, yeah, we take each of these projects as they come. Internal consistency. What they tell us is the case must stay the case. Just don't shit on yourselves. That's all.
What's the one with the guy who's like a pirate and his arms can stretch out?
Oh, One Piece.
Yeah, like that is interesting because that's Eastern, but it's weirdly made up almost entirely of Western tropes as seen from the East. It's pirates, it's cowboy and Western kind of stuff. So it's kind of like back and forth across the thing. So I don't know. What does it mean by scale exactly? Like, do you make different aesthetic and sensibility contexts for them because of where they come from?
Yeah, I think what he's really hinting at there is like, yeah, do you have different criteria? Do you judge them by different metrics or, you know, whatever you want to say? And yeah, like I think as MauLer said, like having some kind of internal consistency is the benchmark that's just universal across films. Like, okay, you come from a different culture or whatever, like you might have all kinds of weird and wacky rules for your movie, but as long as you stick to them, then, well, okay, you're making it work. Okay. So,
I mean, yeah. The big conversation I had with Star Wars, right? It's like, are they allowed to go to certain places, or should they be sticking to everything that we're familiar with, genre?
Are they allowed to show sexual assault more? That's the one that like really divided the fan base on that one.
I believe Tony Gilroy said that like part of the reason why he opened the first scene of Andor season 1 in like a brothel and a police killing or something, was almost like as a test for Disney to see if they would let him get away with his other ideas.
That's clever.
Dude, the fact that the only note was he's not allowed to use the word fuck, it makes me think that truly they didn't give a fuck, that they didn't have any kind of like quality
that's
protection.
Nuts, given the amount of money that they pumped into it. Because we were talking earlier about like it, you know, people not taking risks. Andor was a massive risk, but like that's really the only example of something like that, because Andor does not feel like the other Star Wars shows. It feels like something that would never get the amount of money behind it that it got, and it was really, really, really good.
I wonder how they justified doing that, like giving them that much money for it. I just don't know how
you have to remember. It was put into production before Rogue One came out, right? It was like around about that time or near it, or just after. Point being, they were on top of the world. They thought it was soon after you got TLJ Solo, where they were like, "Holy shit, you can release a Star Wars movie and not make a profit." It's like you guys can.
Wow.
I think also a little of hubris from Kathleen Kennedy. Like she wants to have a prestige project that she can claim, and so she'd shovel cash into that to make sure that would happen.
I mean, it's funny because like I feel like we should big it up to the max then and say like, right, everyone loved Andor, Kathleen. That was it. That was your win. Just take that, retire on a high. You've saved Star Wars. Congratulations. See you later. You know, it's not gonna happen.
Please, Drinker, if you found out she actually did that, and then they're like, Dave Filoni taking over, how would you feel about that? Like,
I would feel inevitable. It's like trying to hold in a shit. Eventually, it's going to come splattering out, and like that's what Dave Filoni is now. Like maybe she is just the the clenched sphincter that's holding Dave Filoni back.
Drinker, do you have a good name in mind who you would have replace her?
Tony Gilroy. At this point, it's like the guy I would trust to do it. I don't know what kind of version of Star Wars he would make, but yeah.
He doesn't even like Star Wars. Is that right?
No.
Yeah.
But he likes good storytelling, and he's able to do good storytelling.
You know, I think say, like the piss who doesn't want to be king should be king, because it's like that means you're not interested in the power.
You know what's interesting though? I as much as he might not like it, I think he respects it, which is perhaps enough.
Yeah, but he
treats it respectfully.
It's just bland and generic. He doesn't have imagination. He's not capable of magic. So that's the issue there.
I think we've not seen it. Like maybe he's not had the opportunity yet, because he's been given this very narrow like corridor to try and navigate within the world of Star Wars. And like, I don't know, who knows what he might produce if you said like, okay, make me a new trilogy of Star Wars movies that are going to somehow salvage this franchise. I don't know. Maybe he would be completely lost, but I'd be interested to see him try.
If you know, like there's a track I think called Past, Present, Future in the soundtrack for Andor, and it's supposed to move from Andor's soundtrack into what Rogue One kind of does, and then it's supposed to have little sprinkling of the OT's soundtrack. The point I'm trying to make is that Andor was built very specifically, because I agree with what Echo just said, but I'm pretty sure it was deliberate. They weren't trying to capture the more magical adventurousness of the OT. They were going grounded spy, thriller, politics, blah, blah, blah. Maybe he could pull it off if he ever tried to, but he was definitely not intending to do it there. It was a super chat prior, Drinker, on one of our catch-ups that suggested like he could do a series post the sequel, post the OT, and it could be about the remnants of the Empire struggling to blah, blah, blah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, sure. And the fact is, it's like, he would probably prefer we don't have any cameos for all of our favorite characters. And at this point, we'd be like, yeah, okay.
What I think he might do is, famously, when George Lucas signed it over, he said, I've got all these scripts and treatments that you might want to look at and enjoy. And they famously just said no and just shut that out completely. I think Filoni might go back to all of that and go, well, there's maybe a treasure trove here. Let's have a look at it. He might do that.
You can expect shit tons more Ahsoka.
That's true.
The blacksmith here says, MauLer, loved your Lilo and Stitch EFAP. Have you seen the original cut of the ending house fight? Far more violent with dangerous antics. You can see where it was edited by Jumba's art style and size.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's good stuff.
Is it good?
And thanks for letting me know. A lot of people really loved that one. I think it was the passion involved from everybody there. Fucking hated the remake.
I've got the real question here from Griff Nizzle. Real question. When Clark busted not in Lois, how does it not literally blow her back out? Inquiring minds want to know. I don't know, actually. It's the eternal question about Superman, isn't it? Because you see shit like this in The Boys sometimes, and it's terrible. Yeah, it's dangerous. Give me 1 second here. Yeah. Zeitgeist says, emotional drama in modern storytelling seems so contrived. I know this isn't the intention, as it tends to be promoted as deeper than it actually is. It's very superficial. See modern Star Trek. Yeah, it's kind of melodramatic and a lot of people crying all the time. I don't know, man. There's just, there's usually not much deeper motivation behind it. That sometimes less is more, or in fact, a lot of the time, less is more when it comes to emotional expression.
I don't like emotional drama as solace, that two people have trauma or the compromises in their life and sadnesses, and so they find love and affection as solace that way, rather than love just being love for its own sake and romance being spurred on by, attraction. So that kind of annoys me.
Here's some good news, though. Hope this helps. Says, my wife and I had our first child last Thursday. My girl was delivered after the open bar was over, but she heard Little Platoon's Minecraft review, and we are tuned in this week. You guys have a new fan. That's fucking awesome, man.
Nice
congratulations to you both.
Absolutely, congratulations. The way Platoon described that review, he was like, he'd mentioned a bit of a sort of sunk cost. He'd put so much effort. He's like, I must finish it. And on EPAP, we were like, so yeah, you finished it. He was like, yeah, it wasn't worth it. Just the pain of talking about Minecraft, I guess. Poor guy.
I do like that Platoon was accused by some random of sounding like a French snob, and Platoon tweeted that out.
Yeah.
So I sound like what? And it went viral for some reason. So
I have no idea how much that hurt him.
I know. Well, as a Jewish person, yeah, that's brutal. And yeah, didn't Quarter Black say like get baguetted?
No, that was metal, I think.
Oh, was it metal? Right.
Yeah.
That's even worse coming from a German, actually.
I know.
Jesus de Villa gifted a Critical Drinker membership, so thank you very much. And Lord Wahoo says, Vader in the final scene destroys A New Hope. It ruins Leia's attempts at plausible deniability, something she sticks with until Alderaan. I mean, did anyone really believe her? Like, did Vader believe her?
Watch that scene. Vader just says, "You're a part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away." Apparently, there was no plausible deniability. He didn't believe a fucking word.
The thing that still bothers me to this day is that, like, Leia was apparently getting tortured throughout that time, and like she just looks absolutely fine when Luke rescues her. Explain that one, MauLer.
No, you fucking shit on the OT right now. All of us could go.
OT. It was Drinker. It was spooky sci-fi torture. It was spooky sci-fi torture. It doesn't leave marks.
Yeah.
Well, I just think it's a missed opportunity to have her, dealing with that.
It probably would have been beyond the sensibilities of the time. I think
you got to headcanon it a little bit. Whatever they used on it was fucking, I don't know, temporary and blah 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 blah. It just doesn't or maybe she's used to it. She's had it done. They Bale trained her. She was ready for it.
Sure. Her dad was just really abusive, and so she's just fine with that sort of thing.
Yeah, her dad was abusive.
About Jimmy Smith, man. I just had a bad feeling.
She's used to trauma. She was kidnapped as a 10-year-old. She was stalked by the bass player from the Red Hot Chili Peppers through the woods when she was running at 2 miles an hour. She's been through lots.
That was a disappointing element for Andor season 2 for me, and for some reason it made a big difference. I didn't like the recast for Bail Organa. I love Jimmy Smits. I loved him in Kenobi even. I thought he was great in that for the scenes he showed up. And I don't know, I'm disappointed. I know he's super old, but who knows?
It wasn't him being too old. He was busy. He was working on it.
He was just busy.
He's had like a recurring role in something else, so he couldn't make it. They said this. I don't know. I don't think I can hold it against the show that they wanted him and he couldn't make it.
It's so ironic as well. Like the best piece of prestige, high quality Star Wars that he could have been in, and he's like, "Nah, I'm busy on my other show."
He showed up for Kenobi,
but he couldn't sit up.
He gave the impression in Kenobi of we never had scenes with him. They just propped him up where he could be functional. His voice sounds fine. His posture's okay. For just like 5 minutes, they could just get him to the place where they needed him to be.
Yeah. Rhonda says, question for both of you, or in this case, all of us. Which video game did you know was DOA? For me, it was the disastrous Concorde. 8 years of development, $400 million budget, which is fucking insane. Ugly character design, lasted 2 weeks before shutdown and closure of the studio. Assassin's Creed Shadows, I think, was another one we all knew was going to flop.
Well, here's a throwback. Remember Duke Nukem Forever?
Yeah, the last bit of vaporware.
Crazy nightmare production.
I want a status update on Assassin's Creed. I haven't heard from that in a long time. I want to know where that went.
You're not going to hear much more, I don't think.
I chuck Dustborn into the mix. It's amazing that thing even got made. Extraordinary game.
I mean, Gollum. That one.
I literally didn't know about that game until it came out, and I saw you guys streaming it. Like that was the first I'd heard of it.
It's such an experience.
It definitely is. Definitely an experience.
Strange.
I'll do one more here to finish up. Jay Fraser, MauLer, are you aware and looking forward to the new Mike Flanagan sci-fi drama, The Life of Chuck, due 6th of June? It's another Stephen King adaptation with Tom Hiddleston and an all-star cast.
Yes, I'll be checking out anything Mike Flanagan makes, pretty much, and including they announced the cast for the Carrie TV show that he's going to be doing. He just does Stephen King now full time, I guess, but that'll be interesting. They cast Matthew Lillard in it, as well as a few other people that he's got as regulars. So, keep an eye on his stuff. He's split up with Netflix now. No more shows with them. I can't remember what the exact reason was, but he's going to move on with Amazon, I think it is. He's making shit with. So.
What's special about him, MauLer?
Well, Henry James based shows, except with lesbians added in, basically.
Henry who?
Henry James, like Turn of the Screw type stuff.
He's adapting different things every time, right? Like, to be fair, I don't like all of his work. I'm not a fan of Dr. Sleep that much. I know that was a complicated project.
I like Dr. Sleep.
Well, but
I do. That movie makes no fucking sense. But
that movie's unprecedented. It was adapting a book that was a sequel to a book that, while also adapting a film as a sequel, being a sequel to a film that did not faithfully adapt a book that he was adapting the sequel of. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah, it was nuts.
It was insane.
It's definitely
I don't even
nuts.
know what you're supposed to do at that point.
Stephen King never got over the fact that like the movie was way better than the fucking book of The Shining.
But yeah, Haunting of Hill House, Blind Manor, Midnight Mass, which I think was like pretty hard actually. You liked that, didn't you, Drinker?
I really like Midnight Mass, yeah.
And then
so yeah, I like Mike Flanagan's work generally. I like Fall of the House of Usher. Yeah, good stuff.
Good titles.
Yeah, no, I feel like if you haven't seen any of his stuff, like watch Terminator 2 and then start watching. Well, start with the Haunting of Hill House and then just go from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
Start with Haunting, then do T2.
Yes. No. Well, either way,
good.
as long as you get them watched.
So just do T2 between all of them, just again and again. The
over and
T2
over again.
break from everything. You know?
I think I own that as like penance.
You got to catch up. See, me and Drinker are on like 1,000 watches between us. You got to get up there.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I'm very curious to see what all the hype's about. So I hope I'm just absolutely blown away. I hope I pass out. It's so good.
I don't think you'll be disappointed by Terminator 2.
No.
Like, not many people came away thinking like,
You are in
that was
safe
gonna be better.
hands. Yes. You really are in safe hands. It is truly one of the best movies ever made.
Wow. Dang.
Well, hey,
All right.
just out of curiosity, what is everyone's favorite movie of all time here? If you can answer that.
Signs 2002.
Seriously?
Signs.
All right.
Wow.
No problem.
Wild.
I love that film.
I hate
Fellowship
when
of the
people ask me
Ring?
this because it's like there's probably going to be like 10 that I could name. That
Well, I thought I
could
knew your
have
answer, Drinker. Is it Big Trouble Little China?
Yeah. But then it fluctuates because it
Good
could be Falling Down. It could be something like T2 or Aliens, like or Predator. Like, it just depends what kind of mood I'm in. All of those movies I would happily rewatch anytime.
Good to know.
I couldn't get less than 4 or 5. But if I had to choose one, it would be Empire of the Sun. I love that film.
Wow.
It's a touchstone film for me.
Mm-hmm.
That one sounds familiar. Is that a foreign film?
No, it's Christian Bale's first role as a kid.
Wow.
Oh,
set
that
during,
one.
World War II. Yeah.
Yeah, so Steven Spielberg directed. And
Oh, man.
Yeah, so he gets
Cool.
taken prisoner by the Japanese when is it Singapore falls to them?
Shanghai Falls. Yeah.
Shanghai, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
It just hit me at a particular moment of transition and stuck with me ever since.
I mean,
I'll have to
Bale
check that
acts the
out.
shit out of that one. No denying that.
Jeez.
John Malkovich is really good in it as well.
Random. You're the last guy. You do it. What's yours?
Oh, Fellowship of the Ring. It's got to be. I mean, I would just say The Lord of the Rings because it's one movie split into 3 because cinemas. But yeah, if I've got to pick one movie, it's Fellowship of the Ring.
You chose the correct of the
Yeah, I think so too. No one ever says that. I love Fellowship.
Fellowship's fucking amazing.
Most
And yeah.
people seem to say Return of the King, but Return of the King I think is straight up the weakest, even though I love it. Like, it's brilliant,
It's like the Return of the Jedi of this trilogy, where it's like it's got the biggest emotional payoffs probably, and it's the most like grandiose and stuff, but like it does fall short.
There's a couple weaknesses, but it's
Just by coincidence, I've been rereading The Fellowship of the Ring for the first time in like 20 years, and I've forgotten the dramatic power that Tolkien is capable of in his writing. I've forgotten that, but it's all there. It's just such a pleasure. Everything hits, except for the weird Tom Bombadil sequence towards the beginning, which was a real drag.
I think as well, like it's just the way like everything is so spread out in the book, where like in the movie it's very much like, right, we have to get the ring out of the Shire immediately because it's an emergency, and they leave that night, and like in the books it's like, well, we should probably think about leaving by the end of the year, and it's like, well, we'll have a nice leisurely summer and enjoy ourselves before we go, and it's like everything just takes ages in the books.
Gandalf just disappears for 17 years, comes back, is like, hey, you still got that ring?
No. But anyway, we'll finish up there for tonight, gentlemen. And I want to thank you guys for coming on tonight. It's been awesome to have you. Absolute pleasure. And thank you, everyone who's joined us and sent us such generous super chats, as MauLer and I always do. We'll catch up on the ones that we missed with last orders. But that is pretty much all we've got for today. So go away now.
Bye,
See you
guys.
guys.
Goodbye.